Chapter 2291. Wait, isn't there still Suemo? Suemo is that woman's elder brother, so he must know a thing or two. Senior, have you asked Suemo? Qin Feiyong looked at Shan Qianshan and asked. I did. According to Suemo, the demon ancestor is just a core disciple, so he didn't care about this matter and didn't ask in detail. Shan Qianshan said. Qin Feiyong sighed helplessly and said with a smile, all right, thank you, senior. No need. Shan Qianshan waved his hand. Hui asked, have you been to the northern region? Yes. The people of Nine Heavens Palace and Treasure Pavilion already know of the ancestral dragon's killing intent. Shan Qianshan smiled. That's good. Hui sighed in relief. Shan Qianshan asked, what are your plans next? Qin Feiyong shook his head and said, I haven't decided yet. Shan Qianshan said, all right then, send me a message if there's anything. All right. Qin Feiyong nodded and turned off the image crystal. He lowered his head and frowned. Hui sighed deeply and looked at Qin Feiyong. He smiled and said, since the demon ancestor is dead, then there's no need for us to continue staying in Eastern Tomb, right? Qin Feiyong nodded and frowned. But I still don't believe that the demon ancestor is dead. Think about it. How can a person with a heaven-defying divine artifact die under the claws of a sea beast? Moreover, the power of law of the demon ancestor's heaven-defying divine artifact is space-time travel. Space-time travel. Hui was stunned and nodded. Then it's indeed not so easy to die. Qin Feiyong said. So I feel that there's something unusual about this. You suspect that Shan Qianshan is lying to us? Hui was surprised. I don't know. Qin Feiyong shook his head. Hui said, then what if the demon ancestor is really dead? Wouldn't we be wasting time in Eastern Tomb? Qin Feiyong was a little confused. He had never had a good impression of the demon ancestor, but now that he suddenly heard the news of the demon ancestor's death, he seemed to feel a little sad. How about this? Let's go talk to Suemo, Hui said. Looking for Suemo? Qin Feiyong was stunned and speechless. Don't forget, you killed his sister. So what? If he dares to mess around, I'll destroy him, Hui said domineeringly. Qin Feiyong shook his head and laughed in spite of himself. It was indeed different when one was strong. He nodded and said, all right then, I'll think of a way to find Suemo. Hui chuckled and said, now you can give me the celestial immortal intoxication. Qin Feiyong rolled his eyes. He took out 8 jugs of heavenly immortal wine and threw them to Hui. Hui quickly waved his hand, and his god force surged out, stopping the 8 jugs of heavenly immortal wine. He then said angrily, can't you be more careful? Can you afford it if it's broken? Qin Feiyong froze and said with a frown, are you mistaken? This celestial immortal intoxication was bought by me. But now that it's in my hands, it's mine. Even if it's broken, you still have to pay for it. Hui said. Shameless. Qin Feiyong glared at him and left the castle. When he saw Zhang Xiaoyang looking around, Qin Feiyong was stunned. Zhang Xiaoyang was also stunned when he saw Qin Feiyong appear out of thin air. Are you following me? Qin Feiyong raised his eyebrows. Brotherly, don't misunderstand. Zhang Xiaoyang quickly waved his hand. Qin Feiyong said, if you're not following me, then why are you here? Zhang Xiaoyang stammered. In the end, he gritted his teeth and looked at Qin Feiyong saying, I'm not following you. I'm here specifically to find you. Why are you looking for me? Qin Feiyong said. Zhang Xiaoyang wanted to say something but hesitated, as if it was difficult for him to speak. Qin Feiyong said, my time is precious. If you have something to say it quickly. Zhang Xiaoyang knelt on the ground with a plop. Qin Feiyong was stunned and quickly went forward to help him, saying, what are you doing? Get up. But Zhang Xiaoyang did not get up. Qin Feiyong raised his eyebrows, took 2 steps back and said helplessly, tell me, what do you need me to do for you? Zhang Xiaoyang stammered for a moment and shouted, I want 2 more bottles of immortal wine. Please help me, brotherly, Qin Feiyong said in surprise. You're kneeling here just for 2 bottles of immortal wine. I know it's embarrassing to kneel and beg, but I really need the immortal wine. I can sell it to you in divine crystals. Zhang Xiaoyang lowered his head and said. Qin Feiyong looked at him silently and said, get up first. Don't tell me you won't get up if you don't give me the immortal wine. I won't buy it. Zhang Xiaoyang looked up at Qin Feiyang and finally stood up. Qin Feiyang asked suspiciously, "Why do you want the immortal wine so much?" Zhang Xiaoyang's body stiffened, and he lowered his head in silence. Qin Feiyang said, "Is there something you can't say?" "Yes." Zhang Xiaoyang nodded. "If you're willing to tell me, I may choose to help you. But if you don't, no matter how you beg me, I won't give it to you. Because first, I need to know what kind of person I'm helping." "Is he worth my help?" Qin Feiyang said. Zhang Xiaoyang heard this, and his face was full of struggle. "Zhang Xiaoyang, I finally found you." But at this moment, an angry shout rang out. Zhang Xiaoyang hurriedly turned his head to look at the entrance of the alley, and his eyes suddenly trembled. Qin Feiyang also looked up and saw an old man in black standing at the entrance of the alley. His face was gloomy and terrifying. And behind the old man in black, there were 4 tall and strong guards. And whether it was the old man in black or the 4 guards, their cultivation was extremely strong. Judging from their aura, they were at least at the supreme god level. "That's pretty cool." The old man in black walked to Zhang Xiaoyang step by step with a sneer on his face. Looking at the old man in black, Zhang Xiaoyang's eyes were full of fear. Suddenly, the old man in black raised his hand and slapped Zhang Xiaoyang hard in the face, saying, "You're really audacious. The patriarch is waiting for you at home. Let's go." "Why are you waiting for me?" Zhang Xiaoyang touched his burning face and asked in a panic. The old man in black said, "Why do you need to ask this old man about what you did?" Zhang Xiaoyang's eyes trembled. "Take him down." The old man in black waved his hand. The 4 guards immediately rushed to Zhang Xiaoyang's side. Zhang Xiaoyang's face changed, hurriedly looked at Qin Feiyang, and cried, "Brother Li, save me." Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed, looked at the old man in black, frowned and said, "The younger generation's matter should be solved by the younger generation. It's not right for you older generation to interfere." "What younger generation? What older generation? What are you talking about?" The old man in black was stunned. Qin Feiyang said, "Don't you want to avenge Zhang Xiaofeng?" "Avenge?" The old man in black looked at Qin Feiyang in a daze and said, "What did you say? You're crazy." Qin Feiyang was stunned. What was going on? "Wait, who are you? Why are you the same as Zhang Xiaoyang? Are you his accomplice?" The old man in black looked at Qin Feiyang, his eyes flashing with a shocking cold light. "Accomplice?" Qin Feiyang became more and more depressed. What was going on? Buzz. Suddenly, a buzzing sound was heard. The old man in black took out the image crystal. A shadow appeared. It was a middle-aged man about 1.75 meters tall, with a gloomy look between his eyebrows. "Patriarch." The old man in black bowed respectfully. The middle-aged man said, "Have you found that bastard?" "Yes. Right here." The old man in black turned the image crystal and pointed it at Zhang Xiaoyang. "Little bastard, you must have eaten a leopard's guts." The middle-aged man instantly roared. Zhang Xiaoyang's body trembled and his face turned pale. Suddenly, the middle-aged man saw Qin Feiyang behind Zhang Xiaoyang and asked, "You are Pai Lupi?" Qin Feiyang nodded. The middle-aged man said in a low voice, "I was wondering why you would help Zhang Xiaoyang in the Heaven Immortal Tower. It turns out that you guys were in cahoots." "Wait, speak clearly. How am I in cahoots with him?" Qin Feiyang hurriedly said, "Patriarch, what happened in the Heaven Immortal Tower?" The old man in black also looked at the middle-aged man with suspicion. "You don't know?" the middle-aged man asked. The old man in black shook his head. The middle-aged man said, "Bring them back first." After saying that, the shadow dissipated. The old man in black frowned and looked at Qin Feiyang, saying, "Patriarch invites you. Let's go." Qin Feiyang frowned. Why did he feel that this matter wasn't so simple? Zhang Xiaoyang shook his head. "Brother Li, you can't go, pack." Without waiting for Zhang Xiaoyang to finish, the old man in black slapped Zhang Xiaoyang's face again. And this time the strength was even greater. Zhang Xiaoyang was sent flying and smashed into the wall, coughing up blood. The old man in black no longer paid attention to Zhang Xiaoyang. He looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "I advise you to follow us obediently." Qin Feiyang glanced at Zhang Xiaoyang and then at the old man in black. Who are you guys exactly? Actually, he had already guessed a thing or two. He just wanted to confirm it. I am the butler of the Zhang clan. The one from before is the patriarch of my Zhang clan, the old man in black said. Qin Feiyang nodded and smiled. All right, I will go back with you guys. I can also collect a debt. Collect a debt? What debt? The old man in black looked at him in puzzlement. Qin Feiyang asked in surprise. Not long ago, such a huge thing happened in the Heaven Immortal Tower. You don't know anything about it? I didn't pay attention to it. The old man in black shook his head. Qin Feiyang said, all right then, I won't say much. When we reach the Zhang clan you will know. The old man in black glanced at Qin Feiyang. With a wave of his hand, a teleportation altar quickly opened. Qin Feiyang looked at the altar and said, your patriarch is not in Heaven Luo City right now? Yes. The old man in black said. Qin Feiyang was puzzled. Then why did you open the altar? Humph. My Zhang clan can't afford to lose such an evil creature. The old man in black snorted and walked up the altar. One of the guards also grabbed Zhang Xiaoyang like a little chick and jumped up the altar. Qin Feiyang glanced at Zhang Xiaoyang and also stepped onto the altar. This Zhang Xiaoyang must have done something that angered the Zhang clan. Otherwise, the Zhang clan patriarch and the butler wouldn't hate him so much. Moreover, Zhang Xiaoyang wouldn't be so afraid. What could it be? The other three guards followed closely behind him. Their eyes were fixed on Qin Feiyang, as if they were afraid that Qin Feiyang would run away. Chapter 2292. The Zhang Family. It was located in the southern part of Heaven Luo City. The mansion was extremely large and imposing. There were tens of thousands of people in the entire mansion. In the meeting hall of the Zhang family. At this moment, a middle-aged man was sitting majestically. Next to him was a young man in black, his eyes filled with resentment. This person was Zhang Xiaofeng. Zhang Xiaofeng looked at the Zhang family's patriarch and said, Father, you must hand this Pai Lupi to me later. I want him to beg for death. You still have the nerve to say that? Do you know that what you did in the Heaven Immortal Tower has disgraced our Zhang family? The Zhang family's patriarch said angrily. I don't want to either. Besides, isn't there still the Yun family? In terms of disgrace, the Yun family is more disgraced than us. Zhang Xiaofeng lowered his head and said, That's true. The Zhang family's patriarch nodded. Swish. Before he finished speaking, 6 figures appeared in the hall. It was Qin Feiyang and the others. Zhang Xiaofeng immediately stood up and stared at Qin Feiyang. He laughed and said, Kid, you didn't expect to fall into my hands so quickly, right? Qin Feiyang turned a deaf ear to him. He glanced at the meeting hall and looked directly at the Zhang family's patriarch. The Zhang family's patriarch was also sizing up Qin Feiyang, feeling a little incredulous. Such a seemingly weak young man actually mastered a killing technique that could wipe out the divine soul? Patriarch, the person is here. The old man in black walked to the Zhang family's patriarch and bowed. The Zhang family's patriarch nodded. His eyes fell on Zhang Xiaoyang, and the murderous intent in his eyes suddenly burst out. The guard who was holding Zhang Xiaoyang also threw Zhang Xiaoyang to the ground. Patriarch. Zhang Xiaoyang was extremely nervous, and his whole body was sweating. The Zhang family's patriarch slammed the table and shouted, You really have guts. You actually dared to steal the divine crystal from the treasury. Qin Feiyang was slightly taken aback and looked down at Zhang Xiaoyang. So that's what happened. He really didn't expect that this seemingly gentle and sunny young man would steal. Patriarch, I didn't. Zhang Xiaoyang shook his head. You still dare to quibble. I even went to the treasury last night. Everything was normal. However, when I went to the treasury this afternoon, I discovered that 100 billion divine crystals were missing. This really shocked me. I'll have the butler investigate this matter. When the butler asked the guards guarding the treasury, they said that they saw you near the treasury in the wee hours of this morning. Tell me, is this a coincidence? The patriarch of the Zhang family shouted. Zhang Xiaoyang said, Patriarch, I really didn't. If you don't believe me, you can search my interspatial ring. Zhang Xiaofeng frowned. He turned and glanced at the Zhang clan lord. Father, back then when I was outside the Heaven Immortal Tower, I checked his interspatial ring. There should only be a few 100,000 divine crystals inside. Are you sure? The patriarch of the Zhang clan asked. Zhang Xiaofeng nodded. The Zhang clan patriarch then looked at Qin Feiyang and asked, "Do you have the 100 billion divine crystals with you?" "Me?" Qin Feiyang was astonished. He smiled bitterly and said, "Do you really think that I'm his accomplice? If you're not his accomplice, why did you help him in the Heaven Immortal Tower? And why did the two of you sneakily hide in that alley afterward?" Zhang Xiaofeng sneered. Qin Feiyang said indifferently, "If you want to condemn someone, you can always find a pretext." "Quibble." Zhang Xiaofeng sneered. He looked at the four guards and said, "Search him." The four guards immediately walked toward Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows. It seemed that sometimes good intentions might not be rewarded well. If he wanted to clear his name today, he could only start with Zhang Xiaofeng. If Zhang Xiaofeng really stole the 100 million divine crystals, where would he hide them? The four guards had already surrounded Qin Feiyang. "Wait." Qin Feiyang stretched out his hand. The four frowned. Qin Feiyang looked at Zhang Xiaoyang and said, "I helped you because I saw that your conduct was not bad. However, I didn't expect that you would actually do such a thing. If you still have the slightest bit of conscience, then please speak the truth." "I really don't." Zhang Xiaofeng shook his head. "If you don't, then why were you so flustered when you saw the butler bringing people to find you? Don't treat me like a monkey. I have the ability to help you, and I also have the ability to kill you." Qin Feiyang said. "It's true, I'm not lying to you," Zhang Xiaofeng said anxiously. "Okay, then I'll see if you're lying to me or not." Qin Feiyang released his divine sense and poured it into Zhang Xiaofeng's body. Zhang Xiaofeng's expression became more and more flustered. The Zhang family's patriarch and the butler looked at each other and chose to watch coldly. Soon, Qin Feiyang's eyes had a trace of surprise. In Zhang Xiaofeng's qi he found a jade box. The jade box was very ordinary. If it was placed in front of people, no one would take a second look at it. But why would Zhang Xiaofeng keep it in his qi? Qin Feiyang moved his mind and the jade box immediately appeared in his hand. Zhang Xiaofeng shouted, "Pai Lupi, don't open it." Qin Feiyang glanced at him and opened the jade box directly. An interspatial ring immediately appeared in his sight. The Zhang family's patriarch and others immediately stared at the interspatial ring. Qin Feiyang took out the interspatial ring, erased the blood contract inside and checked it carefully. It was full of divine gems. "You're lying to me." Qin Feiyang lowered his head and looked at Zhang Xiaofeng, who had collapsed on the ground. His eyes were full of disappointment, and then he threw the interspatial ring to the Zhang family's patriarch. After checking it, the Zhang family's patriarch was furious and shouted, "Zhang Xiaofeng, what else do you have to say now?" "I'm wrong, patriarch. I won't do it again. Please be merciful and let me go." Zhang Xiaofeng immediately knelt on the ground and begged. "I was wondering why you were so confident to go to the Heaven Immortal Tower to bid for the immortal wine. It turns out that you stole our divine gems." Zhang Xiaofeng stepped forward and kicked Zhang Xiaofeng. The Zhang family's patriarch said, "There's nothing to say to such a person. Steward, drag him out and feed him to the dogs." "Yes." The old man in black responded and stepped forward to grab Zhang Xiaofeng's hair and dragged him out. "Brotherly, I beg of you, please save me. I have my own difficulties, I don't want to die. And your Zhang family, you owe me this. Why are you doing this to me?" Zhang Xiaofeng roared hysterically. Qin Feiyang turned to look at Zhang Xiaofeng. What did he mean by that? The Zhang family's patriarch shouted, "Don't talk nonsense with him. Drag him out. You old bastard, I won't let you off even if I become a ghost." Zhang Xiaofeng roared in disbelief. "Then I'll make sure you don't even have the chance to become a ghost." The Zhang family's patriarch suddenly stood up, rushed in front of Zhang Xiaofeng, and slapped him in the head. "You killed my parents and now you want to kill me? Aren't you afraid of being punished by the heavens?" Zhang Xiaofeng roared. The Zhang family's patriarch's eyes suddenly surged with a terrifying murderous intent, and the divine power in his palm surged. Swish! But at this moment, a black shadow appeared out of thin air, grabbed Zhang Xiaofeng, and disappeared without a trace. The Zhang family's patriarch was stunned and quickly released his divine sense. Qin Feiyang also immediately released his divine sense, but he didn't find anything. The Zhang family's patriarch was the same. He turned to stare at Qin Feiyang and said gloomily, "You have an accomplice? What? Are you still suspecting me?" Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows. "Do you think you can wash away the suspicion by finding the universe ring? Who knows if this is a show that you're deliberately putting on?" The Zhang family's patriarch said. Qin Feiyang was shocked and said, "Are you an idiot? If I'm his accomplice, why would I give you such a large amount of wealth? It's useless to say more. Father, just cripple him." Zhang Xiaofeng sneered. The Zhang family's patriarch immediately turned around and attacked Qin Feiyang. "Are you sure you want to attack me?" Qin Feiyang frowned. The Zhang family's patriarch turned a deaf ear to him and sneered. "Fine. I hope you won't regret it." Qin Feiyang smiled sinisterly and disappeared without a trace in an instant. Gone again. The Zhang family's patriarch was stunned. He released his divine sense again, and this time he caught a space divine object. Inside the castle, Qin Feiyang stood in the hall with a gloomy face. He didn't take out the hidden soul stone or the divine moon jade pendant, so it was normal that the Zhang family's patriarch could catch it. He didn't plan to hide it anymore. Hey, are you done drinking? If you're done, come out with me." Looking at Hui, who was lying on the recliner and leisurely drinking the immortal wine, Qin Feiyang couldn't help but have a row of black lines on his forehead. Hui said indifferently, "Isn't it just a perfect supreme god, you can't handle it?" Qin Feiyang's veins bulged. Okay. Hui hurriedly waved his hand, reluctantly put down the wine pot, and asked, "Do you want to hide your identity?" "Hide it?" Qin Feiyang nodded. "Okay." Hui took out an illusory form pill, threw it into his mouth, and turned into a white-haired old man. His cultivation base was also suppressed a lot. Outside, Zhang Xiaofeng also released his divine sense, firmly locked onto the castle, and asked, "Father, what should we do?" "I don't believe that he can hide for a lifetime." The Zhang family's patriarch sneered. "What are you doing? Can't you let this old man have some peace and quiet?" Suddenly, a hoarse voice sounded. Immediately after, Qin Feiyang and Hui appeared in the main hall. The Zhang family's patriarch and the others looked at Hui in surprise. Hui looked at the Zhang family's patriarch and the others and said unhappily, "I say, why are you bullying my grandson? What the hell?" Qin Feiyang was stunned, turned his head to look at Hui, and secretly said, "Bastard, you're still taking advantage of me?" Chapter 2293. Look at your current appearance and then look at my current appearance. If I say that we're brothers, no one will believe it. Hui secretly chuckled. Qin Feiyang said angrily, "Then there's no need to say that we're grandfather and grandson, right? Hey. Do you still want the 30 billion soul stones? If you want it, then shut up." Hui transmitted his voice with a threatening tone. "You're good. This time I admit defeat. There's still a long way to go. Let's wait and see." Qin Feiyang coldly snorted. "Hey!" Hui secretly laughed, looked at the Zhang family's patriarch and the others and said, "This old man is asking you a question. Why are you bullying my good grandson?" The words good grandson were dragged out for a long time. Looking at that arrogant look, Qin Feiyang really wanted to kick him. The butler walked in front of the Zhang family's patriarch, looked at Hui vigilantly, and whispered, "Patriarch, this person's strength is unfathomable, be careful." The Zhang family's patriarch nodded and said, "Old man, you have to be reasonable. Your grandson, in cahoots with Zhang Xiaoyang, came to my Zhang family to steal." Wait. "My good grandson is such a sensible child. How could he do such a thing? Kid, don't rely on the Zhang family's strength to bite people casually," Hui said. "You." The Zhang family's patriarch's face was full of anger. "Father, I think it's this old thing who planned this behind the scenes," Zhang Xiaofeng said. "Impudent, you deserve to be slapped." Hui stepped in front of Zhang Xiaofeng and immediately slapped him. Puff! Zhang Xiaofeng spat out a mouthful of blood, and his whole body flew out, hitting a stone pillar behind him. "Don't go too far. My Zhang family is not a place where you can behave atrociously." The Zhang family's patriarch said angrily, "Is that so? Then this old man will really try to behave atrociously." Hui chuckled, took another step, landed in front of the Zhang family's patriarch, and slapped him in the face. The Zhang family's patriarch originally wanted to dodge, but he found that the other party's speed was too fast and he couldn't dodge at all. He immediately realized that the old man was most likely a cultivator in the Nine Heavens realm. Don't just focus on showing off. Let's see if Zhang Xiaoyang and the mysterious man are still here. Qin Feiyang transmitted his voice. Previously, he was unable to capture it because the other party had the soul-concealing stone. However, Hui was different. With his half-step imperishable cultivation, the concealing soul stone was nothing in front of him. When Hui heard this, he scowled and reprimanded. "Do I need you to teach me how to do things?" Qin Feiyang's face darkened. "I'm just joking. Don't take it seriously." Hui quickly smiled apologetically and released his divine sense. Immediately, a hint of a smile crept into his eyes. A wave of divine power appeared and slashed toward the void on the left like a blade. With a clang, sparks burst out in the void. Following closely, two young men fell out of the void in a sorry state. One of them was Zhang Xiaoyang. The other person was a young man in black. He was about 1.8 meters tall and had a thin body. His eyes were extremely sharp. However, at this moment, the two of them looked at Hui with a hint of panic on their faces. "I say, you two children, what can't you figure out that you want to stay here and watch the show? Look at it now, the spatial divine object is destroyed and our whereabouts are exposed." Hui looked at Zhang Xiaoyang and said as if he was an old man. Their pupils shrank. At the same time, Qin Feiyang stared at the young man in black with a trace of surprise in his eyes. The aura that this person faintly exuded gave him an inexplicable sense of familiarity. Hui waved his hand and a barrier appeared, enveloping the entire hall. With this barrier, no matter what happened here, the outside couldn't hear it. Immediately, Hui walked to the chair on the side and sat on it. He looked at Qin Feiyang and said with a smile, "Good grandson, you can deal with it yourself." Qin Feiyang secretly glared at him, then looked at the Zhang family patriarch and said, "I said, you will regret it." The Zhang family patriarch's face was ashen. Who would have thought that such an unremarkable young man would actually have such a terrifying grandfather? The butler's eyes flashed as he ran in front of Qin Feiyang and said with a flattering smile, "Young Master Li, this is all a misunderstanding." Halfway through his words, he suddenly took out a dagger and stabbed it towards Qin Feiyang's lower abdomen. A mere half-step supreme god dares to show off in front of this old man? Hui laughed disdainfully. With a flick of his finger, a ray of divine power shot out and entered the steward's lower abdomen like lightning. Blood suddenly appeared. The steward immediately hugged his lower abdomen and squatted on the ground, howling miserably. The dagger in his hand also fell to the ground with a clang. Qin Feiyang looked at the dagger, then lowered his head to look at the steward, a cold light flashing in his eyes. "I'm sorry." When the steward felt Qin Feiyang's gaze, he suddenly quivered and hurriedly knelt on the ground and cried out. Qin Feiyang ignored him and looked at the Zhang family patriarch with a smile. "Let's put Zhang Xiaoyang's matter aside for now. Let's settle the debt between us first." Looking at the smile on Qin Feiyang's face, the Zhang family patriarch couldn't help shuddering. Qin Feiyang said, "Your Zhang family originally owed me 30 billion divine crystals, right?" "Preposterous." The Zhang family patriarch shouted coldly. "There's real evidence, how can you call it preposterous? Could it be that your son didn't give you the contract?" Qin Feiyang said. "Do you think I'll take this kind of childish trick seriously?" The Zhang family patriarch sneered. "You may not take it seriously, but I'm serious." Qin Feiyang found the contract and placed it in front of the Zhang family patriarch, saying, "Look, it's written clearly here, and this bloody handprint was personally left by your son. Do you still want to deny it? Don't go too far. Let me tell you, although your grandfather is strong, if you really make a big deal out of this, you'll be the only ones to suffer." The Zhang family patriarch shouted, "Seems like you really want to deny it. All right then. We'll do it one by one." Qin Feiyang chuckled and walked to the front of the steward saying, "Want to kill me?" No. I was confused just now." The steward hurriedly shook his head. "You don't even have the courage to admit it. What's the use of keeping you?" Qin Feiyang sighed, picked up the dagger on the ground, and directly plunged it into the steward's head. Ah! The steward screamed miserably. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and pulled out the dagger. A wave of blood immediately gushed out from the steward's head. Bang! Following that, the steward also fell to the ground, dead. This scene caused the 4 guards and Zhang Xiaofeng to be extremely terrified. Zhang Xiaoyang and the mysterious black-clothed youth couldn't help but feel a chill in their hearts. Qin Feiyang looked at the Zhang family patriarch and asked with a smile, 50 billion soul stones, will you give it? 50 billion? The Zhang family patriarch was stunned and said angrily, didn't you say 30 billion just now? Why is it 50 billion now? It was originally 30 billion. But just now you attacked me and scared me. Shouldn't I find you to compensate? So, the extra 20 billion is compensation for my mental trauma. Qin Feiyang laughed. You bastard! The Zhang family patriarch roared. No matter how much of a bastard I am, I'm not as much of a bastard as a son like you. Qin Feiyang chuckled and walked towards Zhang Xiaofeng step by step. Don't come over, father, save me. Zhang Xiaofeng was so scared that he hurriedly retreated. What are you doing? The Zhang family patriarch also panicked and roared. If you dare to kill him, I swear. Stop. I'm not interested in listening to the nonsense of killing you or chasing you to the ends of the earth. I'm just asking you, will you give it to me? Qin Feiyang grabbed the dagger and stopped in front of Zhang Xiaofeng. Looking at the dagger that was still dripping blood, Zhang Xiaofeng was so scared that he collapsed to the ground, his face pale and trembling. The Zhang family patriarch looked at Zhang Xiaofeng and then at Qin Feiyang, unable to make a decision. Looks like I'll have to help you decide. Qin Feiyang smiled, raised the dagger, and stabbed at Zhang Xiaofeng's head. I'll give it to you, okay? The Zhang family patriarch's expression changed as he cried out in despair. Qin Feiyang withdrew the dagger and looked at the Zhang family patriarch with a smile. You're quite tactful. You saved your son's life and also saved your own life. The Zhang family patriarch was shocked and asked, you still want to kill me? If you don't give it to me, then I'll have to kill you and personally go to your Zhang family's treasury. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. You're a demon. The Zhang family patriarch's pupils shrank and he roared. No, I'm a good person. Because I didn't take it by force. I'm just taking back the soul stones you owe me. Otherwise, why would I say so much to you? I'll just slaughter your Zhang family and loot your treasury. Qin Feiyang laughed. Good person. The Zhang family patriarch was exhausted. How could there be such a shameless person in the world? If this was a good person, then there were no bad people in the world. Chapter 2294. Qin Feiyang chuckled and looked at the head of the Zhang family. Where is the soul stone? The treasure vault. The head of the Zhang family's eyes flickered slightly. Zhang Xiaoyang immediately said, it's not in the treasure vault. Qin Feiyang turned to look at Zhang Xiaoyang. Zhang Xiaoyang said, I've been to the treasure vault. There are only divine crystals, herbs, divine arts and divine artifacts. There's not a single soul stone. Zhang Xiaoyang, the head of the Zhang family, glared at Zhang Xiaoyang. Originally, this was his stalling tactic, but he didn't expect Zhang Xiaoyang to expose him. Qin Feiyang turned to look at the head of the Zhang family, his eyes flashing coldly. I don't like people playing tricks in front of me. The head of the Zhang family's eyes trembled. Qin Feiyang slowly walked to Zhang Xiaofeng's side, put his hand on Zhang Xiaofeng's shoulder, and said with a smile, you should know where the soul stone is, right? I know. Zhang Xiaofeng nodded repeatedly. Okay. Please go and get it for me. Remember, 50 billion soul stones, not one less. Qin Feiyang smiled. Okay. Zhang Xiaofeng nodded repeatedly, then ran to the door of the main hall. Don't rush, Qin Feiyang said. Zhang Xiaofeng's body suddenly stiffened, and he turned to look at him suspiciously. Qin Feiyang formed a seal with both hands. Buzz! A seal quickly appeared. It was the seal of slavery. The black-clothed young man standing next to Zhang Xiaoyang narrowed his eyes slightly when he saw the seal of slavery. What is this? Zhang Xiaofeng was surprised. What are you doing? The head of the Zhang family also said angrily. Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and the seal of slavery immediately turned into a stream of light and disappeared into the top of Zhang Xiaofeng's head. Zhang Xiaofeng immediately held his head and lay on the ground, howling miserably. The head of the Zhang family ran to Zhang Xiaofeng's side. His face was full of anxiety, and shouted at Qin Feiyang, "What did you do to him?" Qin Feiyang turned a deaf ear. After a while, Zhang Xiaofeng stopped howling, and his eyes were filled with confusion. What's going on? It didn't seem to have caused any harm to him. The head of the Zhang family asked with concern, "Fenger, are you all right?" "I'm fine." Zhang Xiaofeng shook his head and stood up from the ground. His eyes were filled with doubt. What did this person do to him? Qin Feiyang walked over to the table and sat down beside Hua Yi. He looked at Zhang Xiaofeng and waved his hand, smiling as he said, "Go, I'll wait for you here." "All right." Zhang Xiaofeng nodded and looked at Qin Feiyang suspiciously. Then he turned around and ran towards the door. Hua Yi waved his hand, and a crack immediately appeared in the barrier he had set up earlier. "Fenger, notify the Yun family." Just as Zhang Xiaofeng walked out of the barrier, the Zhang family's patriarch shouted, "Yun family." Zhang Xiaofeng's eyes flashed, and he ran out without looking back. The crack in the barrier was also repaired. Qin Feiyang leaned back in his chair and looked at the Zhang clan head with a hint of mockery in his eyes. "What is it?" Hua Yi noticed his expression and asked secretly. Qin Feiyang said, "The Zhang clan's patriarch asked Zhang Xiaofeng to notify the Yun family." "How do you know?" Hua Yi was stunned. "Enslavement seal. This technique can peek into the other party's inner thoughts," Qin Feiyang said secretly. "In other words, this Zhang clan wants to borrow the Yun family's hand to get rid of us?" Hua Yi asked secretly. Qin Feiyang responded, "Still not honest. I'll destroy him now." Hua Yi snorted coldly. Qin Feiyang laughed secretly. "Don't worry, wait for the Yun family's people to come first." Hua Yi was stunned. He looked at Qin Feiyang strangely and asked, "This can't be what you want, right? Since it's to collect the debt, then I'll collect it all at once so as to avoid the trouble of running back and forth." Qin Feiyang said, "I think you want to extort the Yun family like how you extort the Zhang clan." Hua Yi said secretly, "If the Zhang clan can take out 50 billion soul stones, then it won't be difficult for the Yun family, who is stronger than the Zhang clan, to take out 100 billion soul stones." Qin Feiyang laughed secretly. "Sure enough. You're really a bastard." Hua Yi secretly despised him. According to the contract, the Yun family only needed to pay 60 billion. But now, Qin Feiyang had changed the script in advance and asked for 100 billion. When he thought of the Yun family's fate, he couldn't help but sympathize. "Half each," Hua Yi said secretly. "Okay." Qin Feiyang nodded. It really didn't matter about this. Last time, Shangguan Fenglan came to him to ask for the 10 5th-level soul veins, and promised to give him 10 billion soul stones. At that time, Hua Yi also said that they would split the 10 billion soul stones. But now, the 10 billion soul stones were still in his hands. Hua Yi didn't ask him for it. In fact, he was just saying it. "How do you plan to deal with these two?" Hua Yi glanced at Zhang Xiaoyang and the black-clothed young man. Qin Feiyang glanced at Zhang Xiaoyang and then locked his eyes on the black-clothed young man. This person's cultivation was a low-level divine lord. The aura he exuded really gave him a familiar feeling. However, this familiar feeling was also a little strange. In his memory, there was no information about this person. What was going on? At the same time, Zhang Xiaoyang and the black-clothed young man were also exchanging glances. Obviously, were they also muttering something secretly? He even dared to steal. "I guess he's not a good person. Let's just kill him." Hua Yi transmitted his voice. Qin Feiyang's eyes flickered. Suddenly, he looked at the black-clothed young man and asked, "Who are you?" The black-clothed young man immediately looked at Qin Feiyang. There was a trace of fear in his eyes. But this fear was different from the fear of the Zhang family head and the 4 guards. The Zhang family head and the 4 guards were afraid of Hua Yi. But this black-clothed young man was afraid of Qin Feiyang himself. This made Qin Feiyang even more confused. It was as if this person knew that he was Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang's eyes were slightly cold. He said, "I don't want to ask a second time. Brotherly, please calm down. He's a friend of mine. He helped me because he wanted to help me take revenge." Zhang Xiaoyang hurriedly said, "Revenge?" Qin Feiyang frowned. "Yes. Don't you want to know why I want the celestial immortal wine? I'll tell you now. Do you still remember the two people I told you about in the Heaven Immortal Tower? Qin Feiyong and Hui? Zhang Xiaoyang said. Qin Feiyong and Hui looked at each other. What was going on? How did it have anything to do with them? Yes. Qin Feiyong nodded and said. They're the two people who killed the city lord and his wife. Yes. Hui is a half-step invincible realm expert. He's extremely powerful. I want the celestial immortal wine to give it to him. Zhang Xiaoyang said. Hui was stunned. Was this a joke? He didn't know this person at all. Why did he give him the celestial immortal wine? Qin Feiyong asked calmly, do you know Hui? No. But I know him. He's a very good wine drinker. If I go to him with 2 pots of the celestial immortal wine, I think he should help me. Zhang Xiaoyang said. Help you with what? Qin Feiyong was suspicious. Zhang Xiaoyang's face suddenly became incomparably ferocious and full of resentment. He said, help me kill the patriarch of the Zhang family and Suemo. What? Qin Feiyong and Hui were shocked. Not only did he want to kill the patriarch of the Zhang family, but he also wanted to kill Suemo? This was too shocking. The patriarch of the Zhang family was just a small character, but Suemo was the Grand Elder of Heaven Cloud Mountain. In East Tomb he had an unshakable status and power. He actually wanted to kill him? He was crazy. They deserved to die. Because they killed my parents. Zhang Xiaoyang roared with resentment. Huh. Qin Feiyong and Hui looked at each other. There really was another story. Little bastard, don't talk nonsense. Your parents were killed by the sea beasts of the Tianluo Sea. The patriarch of the Zhang family shouted at this time. I'm talking nonsense? Yes. When I first heard the news of their death, I also thought that they died under the claws of the sea beasts. But one night half a year ago, he came to me. Zhang Xiaoyang pointed to the black-clothed young man next to him and said. He told me that the truth of the matter was not like that. The patriarch of the Zhang family stared at the black-clothed young man and said in a deep voice, Who are you? Not important. The black-clothed young man said coldly and looked at Zhang Xiaoyang. Continue. He told me that Suemo ordered you to kill my parents and frame the sea beasts of the Tianluo Sea. But at first I was too sick to believe him. Because at that time it was the first time I met him. It was impossible for me to believe a stranger. But later, he took me and hid in the space divine item, monitoring you day and night. Just a few days ago I heard you talking to the butler. Zhang Xiaoyang said. The patriarch of the Zhang family's expression stiffened. Hui glanced at the three and said, Zhang Xiaoyang, can you tell me why Suemo killed your parents? Because a year ago, my parents saw something they shouldn't have seen in the Tianluo Sea. So Suemo wanted to silence them. Zhang Xiaoyang said. So serious? Hui was stunned and asked curiously what happened. A year ago, Suemo and his sister killed Ouyang in the Tianluo Sea. Zhang Xiaoyang said word by word. Ouyang? Hui was stunned. Why did this name sound familiar? Wait, wasn't this the demon ancestor that Qin Feiyong was looking for? Hui turned his head to look at Qin Feiyong, only to see that Qin Feiyong's face was also full of surprise. At that time when they killed Ouyang, my parents happened to be nearby and witnessed the scene with their own eyes. But at that time they didn't find my parents. After my parents came back, they didn't dare to say anything and only told the patriarch about it. But in the end, the patriarch of our Zhang family actually told Suemo and his sister about it in order to curry favor with them. I don't need to say what happened later, you should be able to guess it. In order to silence them, Suemo asked the patriarch to secretly kill my parents and throw their bodies into the Tianluo Sea. Until now I still haven't found their bodies. I'm afraid that they have already been cut into pieces by the sea beasts of the Tianluo Sea. After Zhang Xiaoyang finished speaking, he closed his eyes in pain. So that's how it is. Hui muttered, looking at the patriarch of the Zhang family and said, They are members of your Zhang family, and it was because they trusted you that they told you these things. You actually betrayed them, where is your conscience? I did it for the good of the Zhang family. As long as we have a relationship with Suemo, the rise of my Zhang family is just around the corner. The patriarch of the Zhang family coldly snorted. Really stubborn. Hui shook his head. Chapter 2295. Stubborn. The Zhang family patriarch raised his eyebrows and sneered. Don't act so high and mighty. Do you dare to say that you have never done such a thing when you were young? When I was young. Hui was slightly taken aback and quickly said, Wait, am I very old? You even have a grandson and you still think you're young? Do you want to look in the mirror? The Zhang family patriarch looked down on him. Ugh! Hui was stunned and then revealed a wry smile. His current appearance was indeed old. Suddenly, he turned to look at Qin Feiyang and chuckled. Good grandson, why aren't you saying anything? Qin Feiyang's face immediately darkened. Hui acted as if he didn't see it at all and laughed. Grandfather, I'm a little tired, you can deal with it yourself. After saying that, he closed his eyes. Qin Feiyang secretly glared at him, then raised his head to look at Zhang Xiaoyang and asked, Why did the Su siblings want to kill Ouyang Wenyi? And you? Qin Feiyang looked at the black-clothed youth again and said, What is your relationship with Ouyang Wenyi? We just met by chance. The black-clothed youth said, You told Zhang Xiaoyang the truth and risked your life with Zhang Xiaoyang just because you met by chance? Are you stupid? Or do you think I'm stupid? Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed with a cold light. The black-clothed youth's pupils shrank slightly, and he nodded. All right, I admit, I have some friendship with Ouyang Wenyi. Just some friendship? Qin Feiyang said. You're really not easy to fool. All right, I'll say it. He once saved my life, so I want to repay his kindness. The black-clothed youth said. Qin Feiyang asked, So, you also saw the Su siblings kill him in the Sky Luo Sea? Yes. The black-clothed youth nodded. Qin Feiyang's eyes flickered and said, Then tell me, why did they kill Ouyang Wenyi? Because of a heaven-defying artifact. The black-clothed youth said. Qin Feiyang's eyes narrowed. He even knew about the heaven-defying artifact? Ouyang Wenyi has a heaven-defying divine artifact. Once, Brother Ouyang sent me a message, saying that we would go to the Tianluo Sea to gain experience together. Although the Skynet Sea is very dangerous, but because he saved my life I agreed to it at that time. The two of us joined hands and entered the heavenly net sea. Everything went smoothly at first. But as we went deeper and deeper, we accidentally barged into the lair of a beast emperor and were surrounded by sea beasts. That beast emperor is a paragon god. Brother Ouyang and I are only divine lords. We are naturally not its match. At the critical moment of life and death, Brother Ouyang took out a heaven-defying divine weapon. It was only then that I found out he had a heaven-defying divine artifact. Later, we safely escaped and returned to Heaven Cloud Mountain. But for some reason Suemo and his sister found out about this. Just a year ago, Brother Ouyang and I went to the Tianluo Sea to train again. When we went deep into the sea, Suemo and his sister came out and demanded Brother Ouyang to hand over the divine weapon. The black-clothed young man said, Back to Heaven Cloud Mountain? Qin Feiyang was stunned and asked, You are a disciple of Heaven Cloud Mountain? Yes. The black-clothed young man nodded. Like you said, Ouyang Wenyi has a heaven-defying divine weapon. Even if Suemo and his sister attacked him personally, they wouldn't be able to kill him, right? After all, Suemo is only at the peak of the Nine Heavens realm. Qin Feiyang frowned. Only at the peak of the Nine Heavens realm? How arrogant! The Zhang clan lord suddenly sneered. Qin Feiyang ignored him and looked at the black-clothed young man, waiting for him to continue. If it's just Suemo and his sister, they won't be able to kill Brother Ouyang. But Suemo has been preparing for a long time to steal Brother Ouyang's divine weapon. And before he left, he went to the Peak Lord and borrowed the only heaven-defying divine weapon of Heaven Cloud Mountain. The black-clothed young man said, What? Heaven Cloud Mountain also has a heaven-defying divine weapon. Qin Feiyang was surprised. Yes. The black-clothed young man nodded. Qin Feiyang was in disbelief. Even Heaven Cloud Mountain had one? Wasn't this heaven-defying divine weapon everywhere? Don't make a fuss like a country bumpkin. Whether it's Heaven Cloud Mountain or Nine Heavens Palace, they both have a heaven-defying divine weapon. Otherwise, how could the Palace Lord of Nine Heavens Palace have the courage to fight against the dragons for your ancestor? But she didn't expect the dragons to be so strong. Even if she had a heaven-defying divine weapon, it was useless. Hui said telepathically. How do you know so much? Qin Feiyang joked. Nonsense. I'm at least a half-step invincible realm cultivator. Hui thought. Okay. Let's see how long you can keep pretending. Qin Feiyong sneered and looked at the black-clothed young man. Continue. When two heaven-defying divine weapons fought, they almost destroyed each other in the end. And because of this heaven-defying divine weapon of Heaven Cloud Mountain, Brother Ouyang died in Tianluo Sea. The black-clothed young man sighed. Qin Feiyong asked, Then how did you escape? Before the battle, Brother Ouyang told me to escape. Suemo and his sister also wanted to kill me, but Brother Ouyang fought with his life, so I was lucky to escape. After escaping, I didn't dare to return to Nine Heavens Palace, so I disguised myself and hid in Tianluo City, looking for a chance to avenge Brother Ouyang. The black-clothed young man said. Qin Feiyong asked, What about Ouyang when he's heaven-defying divine weapon? The black-clothed young man said with hatred, Do you still need to think about it? Brother Ouyang was killed, so the divine weapon must be in Sumo's hands. Qin Feiyong lowered his head, his eyes flashing. Da-da. This time, accompanied by hurried footsteps, Zhang Xiaofeng hurriedly ran into the main hall. Hui waved his hand and the barrier cracked again. Zhang Xiaofeng entered the barrier and ran to the side of the Zhang family patriarch. Did you inform the Yun family? The Zhang family patriarch secretly asked. Yes. And young Master Yun told me that he was going to ask the old patriarch of the Yun family to come out of seclusion. Zhang Xiaofeng sent a sound transmission. Old patriarch of the Yun family. The Zhang family patriarch's spirit shook as he secretly laughed. I heard that this old patriarch of the Yun family had already stepped into the half-step ninth heaven realm 1,000 years ago. With him personally coming out, then these two people. As he said this, the Zhang family patriarch's eyes couldn't help but emit a cold light. Zhang Xiaofeng also sneered in his heart. He looked at Hui, who was sitting on the chair, and secretly said, Father, can you determine this old thing's cultivation? Yes. He's also a half-step ninth heaven realm. The Zhang family patriarch secretly said, If two half-step nine heavens realm cultivators were to fight, it would definitely be a situation where neither side wins. At that time we can reap the benefits. Zhang Xiaofeng's eyes lit up as he sent a sound transmission. That's right. The reason why the four great families are able to dominate Heavenluo City is because they all have a half-step ninth heaven realm in their families. And if the old patriarch of the Yun family dies here today, then the Yun family will plummet, and my Zhang family will naturally have the chance to rise again. The Zhang family patriarch secretly sneered. I was wondering why Father wanted me to inform the Yun family. So it was because of this plan. Zhang Xiaofeng suddenly understood. The Zhang family patriarch laughed complacently, and secretly said, Man proposes, God disposes. Sooner or later you will be the head of the family, learn more. All right. Zhang Xiaofeng replied. I say, the two of you have been exchanging glances since you came in. What are you doing? Qin Feiyong looked at the father and son and frowned. Actually, did he know what the father and son were muttering about? He just didn't say it out loud. Nothing. The father and son hurriedly waved their hands. Qin Feiyong smiled playfully and asked, Where are the spirit stones? Father, our Zhang family only has a total of 50 billion spirit stones. Are we really going to give it to him? Zhang Xiaofeng's expression froze, and hurriedly transmitted his voice. It's okay, give it to him. It's just for the time being. The Zhang family patriarch said indifferently, full of confidence. That's true. Zhang Xiaofeng muttered. In any case, this person and the old patriarch of the Yun family would both be injured. When the two of them were killed, the spirit stones would naturally return to their hands. Then, Zhang Xiaofeng took out 5 universe rings and threw them to Qin Feiyong, and coldly snorted, 50 billion, not a single one. Count carefully, don't say that I lied to you. Qin Feiyong smiled faintly, sent the universe rings to the ancient castle, and secretly said, Fire Lotus, count them. Okay. Fire Lotus responded, and released her spirit sense to count. The Zhang family patriarch said in a deep voice, The spirit stones have been given to you. Can you get out of my Zhang family now? Father, what are you doing? If he leaves, won't our plan fail? Zhang Xiaofeng was stunned and hurriedly asked. You don't understand. If I don't say that, he will really leave once the spirit stones are in his hands. The Zhang family patriarch transmitted his voice. Zhang Xiaofeng pondered carefully, and suddenly said, "So that's how it is, you are deliberately provoking him?" "That's right. If I provoke him, he will naturally not leave." The Zhang family patriarch secretly said. "Father is really wise." Zhang Xiaofeng said in admiration. "What do you think? To manage such a large family, how can one not have a brain?" The Zhang family patriarch said proudly. Yes, yes, yes. This child will definitely follow father's example and learn well." Zhang Xiaofeng secretly laughed. However, the father and son did not notice that the ridicule in Qin Feiyang's eyes became even stronger. Wisdom? Brain? Example? Why was it so funny? Because he had been secretly peeping at Zhang Xiaofeng's inner thoughts. He knew exactly what the two of them were muttering. However, he still did not expose them. Let the father and son be happy for a while. Chapter 2296. What are you still sitting there for? Didn't you hear me? I told you to leave? Could it be that you want me to treat you to a drink? Seeing Qin Feiyang and Huai sitting at the table, the patriarch of the Zhang family couldn't help but scold them angrily. Drink? Huai suddenly opened his eyes and said with a smile, "That's a good idea. Your Zhang family must have prepared some celestial immortal wine, right?" This time, on the contrary, the patriarch of the Zhang family was caught off guard. But soon after, he couldn't help but sneer in his heart. Celestial immortal wine? I'm afraid you don't have the life to drink it. You're not leaving? Fine. Anyway, my Zhang family has plenty of space. You can stay as long as you want. As for the celestial immortal wine, we really don't have it. The patriarch of the Zhang family snorted and returned to the main seat, closing his eyes to rest. Zhang Xiaofeng stood behind the patriarch of the Zhang family, looking at Qin Feiyang and Huai. The expression on his face was very angry, but he was also sneering in his heart. Qin Feiyang looked at the father and son, his eyes flashing with ridicule, then looked at Zhang Xiaoyang and the black-clothed youth, then lowered his head and muttered to himself. Zhang Xiaoyang glanced at Qin Feiyang and Zhang Xiaofeng and his son, and asked suspiciously, "What are they doing?" The black-clothed youth secretly said, "This matter is definitely not over yet. They are all having their own ulterior motives." Zhang Xiaoyang nodded in realization. Time passed by. Hui suddenly asked, "Good grandson, what are you thinking about?" Qin Feiyang was taken aback and said angrily, "You're really calling me that?" Hui secretly laughed and said, "Actually, you're not at a disadvantage, because according to seniority and age, it's only right for you to call me grandfather. If you say any more, I'll turn hostile." Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows. Okay, I won't say any more," Hui quickly said. Qin Feiyang stared at him and secretly said, "Have you ever thought of a problem?" "What problem?" Hui was suspicious. "When we entered the Eastern Tomb, we first met the city lord couple Ant's enmity with Suemo. Next, Zhang Xiaoyang appeared again, which led to a series of problems. Originally, I thought that the appearance of these people had nothing to do with our purpose in coming to the Eastern Tomb. They were like passers-by that we met on our journey. But in the end, the Su siblings are related to the fiend ancestor. The Zhang family is also related to the fiend ancestor. Say, how did these seemingly unrelated people end up together in the end?" Qin Feiyang was suspicious. "This is fate." Hui laughed. "Fate? Why do I feel like there's an invisible string that's pulling us along?" Qin Feiyang said. Hui said, "Fate is just this wondrous. I'm playing the lute to a cow." Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes. "I know that you are very unhappy that I pretended to be your grandfather, but you can't scold me in a roundabout way, right?" Huai was displeased. "Cut the crap. Do you think that everything we encountered in the Eastern Tomb was secretly manipulated by someone?" Qin Feiyang thought. "You're thinking too much. Even we can't predict what we encountered in the Eastern Tomb. Unless it's the god of creation, who else would have such great ability? You only know how to think nonsense all day long. Aren't you tired of living?" Hui said. "That's true." Qin Feiyang muttered. He didn't believe that all of this was secretly manipulated by someone. At the end of the day, this was the cause and effect. Boom! It was also at this moment. A terrifying aura descended outside the main hall. It's here. The Zhang family head and Zhang Xiaofeng were shocked and quickly looked outside the door. They saw an old man with a ruddy face and white hair standing outside the door. The old man was about 178 meters tall and wore a black robe. His hands were behind his back. His body was strong and his face was incomparably cold. Who is he? His aura is so strong. Zhang Xiaoyang also looked at the old man in shock. Don't you know him? The black-clothed youth thought. I don't know. Zhang Xiaoyang shook his head. Hui opened his eyes and looked at the old man, thinking, is it him? Yes. Old patriarch of the Yun family. Qin Feiyang transmitted his voice. He's indeed a half-step ninth heaven realm. Hui muttered. A mere half-step ninth heaven realm for you, isn't it as simple as swatting a fly? Qin Feiyang laughed secretly. Hui was slightly stunned, and said with a sneaky smile, are you trying to curry favor with me? Yes. If I don't curry favor with you, what if you leave me alone? Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes at him. Hui frowned and said, why do I feel that your words are a bit harsh? Are you done? Hurry up and let him in. Qin Feiyang said. Hui waved his hand, and the barrier immediately cracked. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, old senior, come in. Old patriarch Yun glanced at Qin Feiyang and stepped into the barrier. He then looked at Zhang Xiaoyang and then looked at Hui. Don't look, don't look. This old man's cultivation is the same as yours, half-step ninth heaven realm. Hui said. Old patriarch Yan's eyes flashed coldly as he pointed at Qin Feiyang and asked, you're his grandfather? Yes. Hui nodded, answering very naturally and straightforwardly. Grandson, outside the Heaven Immortal Tower, you killed over 50 of my Yun family's guards and humiliated my Yun family's direct descendant in public. You even wanted to extort my Yun family's soul stones. How do you think we should settle this debt? Old patriarch Yun said. Hui said, tell me, how do you want to settle this? Very simple. Immediately go to the central square and kneel in public. Apologize to my Yun family, and this debt will be considered settled. Old patriarch Yun said. You're really not polite. This old man's good grandson, even this old man can't bear to make him kneel. You actually want him to kneel in public and apologize to your Yun family? Aren't you looking down on this old man too much? Hui frowned. Old patriarch Yun's gaze turned cold as he said, so you're saying that you refuse? Look, you're the same as this old man. You're already so old, why are you still so unreasonable? Everyone knows what happened in the Heaven Immortal Tower. Now you're here to settle the debt with my good grandson? Do you think your actions are befitting of your status? Hui said indifferently. This old man isn't here to reason with you. Old patriarch Yun's body trembled as he suddenly released his aura and pounced towards Hui. Then you're saying that you're here to find trouble? Hui also stood up. With a wave of his hand, the aura of old patriarch Yun instantly disappeared without leaving any traces as if it had never appeared. What? Old patriarch Yun's expression changed, filled with disbelief. With a wave of his hand, he disintegrated his aura? Was this something a half-step ninth heaven realm cultivator could do? Qin Feiyang coughed dryly and quickly looked at Hui with a smile. Don't be angry, don't be angry. Sit down first. Humph. If it wasn't for my good grandson, this old man would kill you right now. Hui looked at old patriarch Yun and coldly snorted before returning to his seat. Old patriarch Yun was extremely shocked. Was this person's cultivation really the same as his half-step ninth heaven realm? Old patriarch Yun, right? Qin Feiyang turned to look at old patriarch Yun and smiled. That's me. The old family head of the Yun family turned his gaze and looked at Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang said, actually, I've been waiting for you. Waiting for me? Old patriarch Yun was stunned as he turned to look at the Zhang father and son. The Zhang father and son were a little flustered. Don't look at them. They didn't tell me that you were coming to find me. Qin Feiyang said. Then how did you know? Old patriarch Zhang asked in surprise. Old patriarch Yun and Zhang Xiaofeng also looked at Qin Feiyang suspiciously. Qin Feiyang looked at the Zhang father and son and said with a smile, do you still remember the mark that I evolved before? The two nodded. That mark is called the enslavement mark. It can control the soul of a living being and peek into their inner thoughts. Qin Feiyang said. What? Control the soul. Peek into their inner thoughts. The father and son were extremely shocked. If that was the case, didn't that mean the other party already knew their thoughts? Yes. I knew what you wanted to do from the beginning. Qin Feiyong laughed in ridicule. He turned his head to look at the Yun family's old patriarch and said, Old patriarch, are you interested in hearing it? Speak. Old patriarch Yun said. You are a half-step to the ninth heaven realm and I cough. Grandfather is also a half-step to the ninth heaven realm. If the two of you fight, it will be a situation where both of you suffer. At that time when you and my grandfather both suffer, the Zhang family will be able to reap the benefits. This is Patriarch Zhang's plan, Qin Feiyong said with a smile. Hearing this, old Patriarch Yun immediately looked at Patriarch Zhang and said angrily, How dare you scheme against my Yun family? You are courting death. Patriarch Zhang hurriedly said, Old Patriarch, don't listen to his nonsense. He is sowing discord, do you understand? Yes. We never thought of that at all. I swear to God, don't be deceived by him. Zhang Xiaofeng also said. The father and son were extremely shocked. He actually knew what they were thinking. However, even if Qin Feiyong said it, they weren't too nervous. Because this was only Qin Feiyong's side of the story, and there was no evidence. Besides, Qin Feiyong had also provoked the Yun family. Even if old Patriarch Yun believed it, he would still make a move on Qin Feiyong first. As expected, after looking at the Zhang father and son for a while, old Patriarch Yun's gaze suddenly swept towards Qin Feiyong, and said, You want to deceive this old man with such a small trick? Qin Feiyong was startled and said helplessly, All right, it's fine if you don't believe me. The result is the same anyway. Did you bring the soul stone? What? You really dare to ask this old man for the soul stone? Old Patriarch Yun was stunned. Old Patriarch, did you see that? He is so arrogant he completely doesn't put your Yun family in his eyes. The patriarch of the Zhang family naturally wouldn't let go of this good opportunity to add fuel to the fire, and shouted angrily. Old Patriarch Yun smiled coldly and looked at Qin Feiyong, his eyes full of contempt, and said, I don't have the soul stone, but I do have a life. If you have the ability, come and take it. So, your Yun family also intends to renege on the debt? Qin Feiyong laughed. So what? Old Patriarch Yun's face was full of provocation. So what? Qin Feiyong murmured, looking at old Patriarch Yun, his eyes flashing. Seeing this, Zhang father and son looked at each other and immediately retreated to the side, waiting to watch the show. What should we do? Zhang Xiaoyang asked secretly. Wait and see. The black-clothed youth transmitted. The two also quietly retreated to the edge of the barrier. Chapter 2297. Inside the hall, it was filled with an atmosphere of mutual hostility. Qin Feiyong suddenly turned around and returned to his seat. He looked at the Yun family's old patriarch and said, I don't like people like you who go back on their words. The Yun family's old patriarch said, This old man also doesn't like arrogant young people like you. I'm arrogant? Qin Feiyong smiled and said, Compared to your Yun family's young master, I should be considered low-key. My Yun family has the capital. The Yun family's old patriarch said. Qin Feiyong said, So you're not ashamed but proud? Sometimes being high-profile also requires capital. The Yun family's old patriarch sneered. All right, I admit defeat. I can't compare to your mentality of thinking that you're superior. Yes, I'm just an ordinary person. But ordinary people don't necessarily have no capital. Qin Feiyong leaned on his seat, his eyes full of disdain. Provoking this old man again and again, are you really not afraid of death? The Yun family's old patriarch's eyes sank, and his aura surged again. Hui opened his eyes and raised his eyebrows. Hey, don't make a move. The one who doesn't make a move is better you. Do you know the relationship between my Yun family and Heavenly Cloud Mountain? The Yun family's old patriarch said. You have a relationship with Heavenly Cloud Mountain? Hui was surprised and asked curiously, Tell me, what relationship? My big brother. And he's my blood brother, the law enforcement elder of Heavenly Cloud Mountain. And he might soon become the hall master of Heavenly Cloud Mountain's law enforcement hall. You dare to provoke my Yun family? The Yun family's old patriarch shouted. Heavenly Cloud Mountain's law enforcement elder? Qin Feiyong and Hui looked at each other. Are you afraid? The Yun family's old patriarch sneered. Afraid? No, 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 you should thank us. Hui waved his hand. Thank you? The Yun family's old patriarch raised his eyebrows. Yes, if we didn't kill Sumo's sister, would your big brother have the chance to become the law enforcement hallmaster? Do you think you should sense us? Hui joked. You killed Sumo's sister? The old patriarch of the Yun family was stunned. The Zhang clan head, Zhang Xiaofeng, and Zhang Xiaoyang were also dumbfounded. Only the black-clothed young man didn't seem surprised at all. Qin Feiyang also frowned and said, If you say that, won't you expose our identities? Anyway, the demon ancestor's death has already been confirmed. What does it matter? Hui thought. Qin Feiyang was stunned. He thought for a moment and nodded. That's true. Wait. Are you guys talking in your sleep? The law enforcement hallmaster was clearly killed by Qin Feiyang and Hui. How did it become you two? Old Patriarch Yun said. Hui said, Why are you so stupid? I'm stupid. The old patriarch of the Yun family was about to fly into a rage when he suddenly thought of something. His eyes flashed as he stared at the two of them and said, Could it be that you two? Hui took out 2 facial restoration pills and tossed one to Qin Feiyang while he swallowed the other. Very soon, the two of them regained their true appearances. It's you. Immediately, the old patriarch of the Yun family, the Zhang father and son, and Zhang Xiaoyang's expression changed. They never would have thought that the two in front of them were actually Qin Feiyang and Hui. Hui said playfully, Now tell me, shouldn't you be grateful to us? Yes. The old patriarch of the Yun family nodded repeatedly. The person in front of him was a half-step undying realm expert. How did he provoke these two fierce people? The Zhang father and son were also completely panicking, and their hearts were filled with regret. Qin Feiyang asked again, Did you bring the soul stones? No. But I can go back and get them immediately. The old patriarch of the Yun family said. Qin Feiyang said, There's no need for that. Send a message to the patriarch of the Yun family, and tell him to send someone over immediately. Remember, it's 100 billion soul stones, not a word less. 100 billion? The old patriarch of the Yun family was stunned and hurriedly said, Isn't it 60 billion? You came here aggressively to find trouble and scared me. Aren't you going to compensate me? Qin Feiyang said. Yes. The old patriarch of the Yun family nodded repeatedly, and then said with difficulty, But 100 billion soul stones is too much. The Zhang family can take out 50 billion, your Yun family can't even take out 100 billion? If you dare say you can't take it out, then we'll personally go to your Yun family's treasury and see if it's true or not. Qin Feiyang said. We can take it out. The old patriarch of the Yun family hurriedly nodded. Go to the treasury? If these two really went to the treasury, then it wouldn't be as simple as losing 100 billion soul stones. Perhaps the entire Yun family's wealth would be robbed by these two. Qin Feiyang said impatiently, If you can take it out, then don't bother. Yes. The old patriarch of the Yun family nodded and took out the image crystal. Qin Feiyang said, Don't face us. Understood. The old patriarch of the Yun family smiled flatteringly and activated the image crystal. Buzz. Not long after, a middle-aged man appeared. As soon as he saw the old patriarch of the Yun family, the middle-aged man hurriedly said, Father, how is it? Don't ask. Immediately send me 100 billion soul stones. The old patriarch of the Yun family said. 100 billion soul stones? The middle-aged man was stunned and asked, Father, why do you need so many soul stones? I said don't ask, didn't you hear me? I'll give you 100 breaths of time. If you don't send it here within 100 breaths, you can forget about being the patriarch. After the old patriarch of the Yun family finished speaking, he directly turned off the image crystal. The middle-aged man was dumbfounded. What the hell was going on? 100 billion soul stones. Could it be that something happened to father in the Zhang family? As soon as he thought of it, the middle-aged man quivered and activated the image crystal again. Soon, a red-haired old man who looked very similar to the old patriarch of the Yun family appeared in the void. Uncle, where are you now? The middle-aged man asked. Of course I'm at Heavenly Cloud Mountain, what's wrong? The red-haired old man looked at the middle-aged man suspiciously. The middle-aged man said, Father just sent me a message. asking me to send 100 billion soul stones to the Zhang family. I think father might have encountered some trouble. Why don't you come back now and accompany me to take a look? Send 100 billion soul stones to the Zhang family? The red-haired old man was stunned. Yes. The middle-aged man nodded. The red-haired old man nodded and said, "All right, I'll go back immediately, wait for me." The middle-aged man asked, "Then what about the 100 billion soul stones?" The red-haired old man said, "Prepare it. What if your father really needs it?" Okay. The middle-aged man nodded, turned off the image crystal and quickly left. Zhang family Great Conference Hall. Because Qin Feiyong and Zhang Xiaofeng's identities were exposed, the atmosphere became unprecedentedly solemn. "Bastard, hurry up and apologize to the two lords." Suddenly, the Zhang family patriarch slapped Zhang Xiaofeng's face and shouted. The old patriarch of the Yun family, Zhang Xiaoyang, and the black-clothed youth looked at the father and son with a trace of contempt in their eyes. This was a classic example of bullying the weak and fearing the strong. Zhang Xiaofeng was stunned by this slap. When he came back to his senses, he saw that the Zhang family patriarch was constantly winking at him. He immediately understood and hurriedly ran towards Qin Feiyong and Zhang Xiaofeng. "I'm sorry, lords. This lowly one has eyes but failed to see. Please be magnanimous and let my Zhang family off. It wasn't easy for my Zhang family to reach this point. Please be magnanimous. I'm willing to be your cow or horse." Plop. Very direct and straightforward. Zhang Xiaofeng knelt on the ground and cried out with snot and tears. Qin Feiyong glanced at the Zhang family patriarch, lowered his head to look at Zhang Xiaofeng, and said indifferently, "We'll talk later." When the father and son heard this, they immediately felt nervous and uneasy. From the sound of it, the other party didn't seem to intend to let them off. Chapter 2298. What do you think of me as your bodyguard? Hui smiled proudly. Very good. Qin Feiyong nodded. Hui immediately turned hostile and said angrily, "Damn, you really think I'm your bodyguard? You said it yourself." Qin Feiyong was speechless. Do you know that a person's first reaction is the most realistic? When I asked you just now, you nodded without hesitation. What does that mean? You really hurt my heart. Hui snorted. Come on. Qin Feiyong was speechless. Swish. At this moment, two figures appeared in the main hall. It was the middle-aged man and the red-haired old man. The two of them went straight to the main hall. But when they reached the door and saw Qin Feiyong and the old man sitting in the main hall, they immediately stopped, their faces full of surprise. Hui waved his hand, and a crack appeared in the barrier. He laughed and said, "Let me give you a piece of advice. Don't even think about running away." Their first reaction was indeed to run away. But when they heard Hui's words, the thought of running away immediately disappeared. Because with their cultivation, it was impossible for them to escape from a half-step undying expert. "Why are you standing there? Come in," Hui said. The two of them looked at each other and entered the main hall through the crack in the barrier. The crack also closed. The middle-aged man ran to the old patriarch of the Yun family and asked in a low voice, "Father, what's going on? Second brother, why are they here?" The red-haired old man was also puzzled. The old patriarch of the Yun family sighed deeply and said, "Pai Lupi is Qin Feiyong." What? The two of them changed color. The old patriarch of the Yun family said, "It's too late to say anything now. Did you bring the soul stones?" "Yes." The middle-aged man nodded and took out 10 interspatial rings. The old patriarch of the Yun family looked at the interspatial rings, his eyes full of reluctance. Finally, he waved his hand and said, "Give them to him." But, the middle-aged man frowned. The old patriarch of the Yun family said, "If we don't give them to him, we'll all die here." The middle-aged man's eyes trembled. "It's okay. Give it to him first. I'll report this to the first elder as soon as we return. At that time he will definitely die." The red-haired old man shot a glance at Qin Feiyong and the young man and secretly transmitted his voice. When the middle-aged man heard this, he did not hesitate and threw it to Qin Feiyong. Qin Feiyong waved his hand, and the 10 interspatial rings immediately disappeared. "Aren't you going to check?" The middle-aged man frowned. "Who says no one is counting?" Qin Feiyong said lightly, "There's someone else?" The middle-aged man was bewildered. In other words, this person had a spatial divine item on him. Qindage, the number is correct. About a moment later, Fire Lotus's voice rang in Qin Feiyang's mind. A smile crept onto Qin Feiyang's face. This trip was worth it. He had earned a total of 150 billion soul stones, enough for him and the white-eyed wolf to use for a long time. Next, he could concentrate on looking for the crystal veins. The red-haired old man smiled and said, "Young Master Qin, since the soul stones have been given to you, can you let us go now?" "You are?" Qin Feiyang looked at him suspiciously. The red-haired old man hurriedly said, "I'm just a nobody, not worth mentioning." "Young Master Qin, he's not a nobody. He's the law-enforcing elder of Heaven Cloud Mountain," Patriarch Zhang said. "Shut up." The red-haired old man's eyes darkened as he stared at Patriarch Zhang and shouted, "So it's you. I just heard from the old patriarch that you're about to be promoted to the Law Enforcement Hall Master," Qin Feiyang said. "This is still a matter of time. Besides, even if I become the Law Enforcement Hall Master, it's all thanks to the two young masters." The red-haired old man smiled flatteringly. Hui chuckled and said, "Old man, you're quite sensible. Of course. If there's a chance, I'd like to invite the two young masters to my house and treat the two of you well," the red-haired old man flattered. "Big brother, what did you say? Letting them go to your house, isn't that inviting a wolf into your house?" Patriarch Yun hurriedly transmitted his voice. "Are you stupid? Can't you tell that I'm just being polite?" the red-haired old man secretly said. Patriarch Yun said, "You're just being polite, but what if they take it seriously?" The red-haired old man was stunned, and his heart suddenly became nervous. They wouldn't really take it seriously, right? Huiyi's eyes flashed, and he said with a smile, "Don't say that. If there's a chance in the future, we'll really visit your Yun family. You're welcome at any time, welcome at any time." The red-haired old man nodded and said flatteringly. But in his heart, it was even more bitter than eating Chinese gold thread. What was he being polite about? Wasn't this asking for trouble? Hui looked at the red-haired old man with disdain and transmitted his voice, "Brother Qin, do you want to avenge the demon ancestor?" Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed. After a long time, his gaze turned and landed on the Zhang clan patriarch. Patriarch Zhang couldn't help but panic in his heart. He bowed and said, "Sir, if there's anything you need, please instruct me." Qin Feiyang said, "Do you want to live?" Patriarch Zhang was stunned and quickly nodded, "Yes, yes." Qin Feiyang said, "If you want to live, then call Suemo for me." "Call Suemo?" Patriarch Zhang was surprised. "Right away," Qin Feiyang said. "Yes." Patriarch Zhang took out the image crystal, looked at Qin Feiyang and asked, "What should I tell him?" Qin Feiyang pointed to Zhang Xiaoyang and the black-clothed youth, and said, "It's the two of them who know that he killed Ouyang Wenyi." "Okay." Patriarch Zhang immediately activated the image crystal. "Father, who is Ouyang Wenyi?" Patriarch Yun looked at Patriarch Yun suspiciously. "I don't know either." Patriarch Yun shook his head. The red-haired old man thought for a moment and whispered, "I've heard of the name Ouyang Wenyi." "Who?" The two turned their heads to look at him. "It seems to be a core disciple of Tianyun Mountain." Yes, it's him. This person was once number 1 on the Earth list," the red-haired old man said. Qin Feiyang also heard the conversation between the three. He looked at the red-haired old man and asked, "Where is Ouyang Wenyi now?" "I don't know. After he became a core disciple, I didn't pay attention to him anymore." The red-haired old man shook his head. Qin Feiyang said, "It seems that Ouyang Wenyi's death hasn't spread in Tianyun Mountain." "What? He's dead?" The red-haired old man was surprised. Qin Feiyang nodded. "That's a pity. When this person was on the Earth list, he showed extraordinary talent and means. If he didn't die young, he would have become a great person." The red-haired old man sighed. "Ouyang Wenyi is a core disciple. Don't you care why he disappeared?" Qin Feiyang asked. "There are hundreds of thousands of core disciples in Tianyun Mountain. How can we manage them all? Let's put it this way. Except for the Heaven List and Earth List disciples, if other disciples stand in front of me and don't wear the Tianyun Mountain disciple uniform, I won't recognize them at all. After all, there are too many people." Moreover, there are disciples dying outside of Skycloud Mountain almost every day. No one cares. The red-haired old man said. Qin Feiyong nodded and pointed to the black-clothed young man. Do you know him? The red-haired old man turned his head and looked at the black-clothed young man. The black-clothed young man's expression didn't change. I don't know him. A moment later, the red-haired old man shook his head. Qin Feiyong said. He is also a disciple of your Tianyun Mountain. Is that so? The red-haired old man was surprised. The black-clothed young man looked at the red-haired old man and said. He used to be, but not now. The red-haired old man nodded and didn't care much. Buzz. This time, Sumo's shadow finally appeared. Looking at the Zhang family head, Suemo asked expressionlessly, What's the matter? Lord, something is wrong. The Zhang family head glanced at Qin Feiyong and anxiously looked at Suemo. What's wrong? Suemo frowned. The Zhang family head turned the image crystal and said to Zhang Xiaoyang and Huai, They know that you killed Ouyang Wenyi. What? Suemo was shocked. The Zhang family head said, But don't worry, I have trapped them and are waiting for you to come and interrogate them. Well done. I'll be right there. Suemo laughed and turned off the image crystal. Ouyang Wenyi was actually killed by the Great Elder? The red-haired old man was surprised. Moreover, from Sumo's previous expression and reaction, it seemed that there was something that couldn't be exposed. What was going on? Brother Qin, you are a bit reckless in this matter. Think about it, if the demon ancestor really died in Sumo's hands, then the demon ancestor's divine artifact must be in his hands now. If they fight later, it won't be good for us at all, Hui secretly said. I know. So, I want to confirm whether the divine artifact is in his hands or not. If it is, then the death of the demon ancestor is absolutely true. But if it isn't, then it is very likely that the demon ancestor is still alive. Qin Feiyong transmitted. So that's how it is. Hui nodded and said, Then have you thought of a way out? If the divine artifact is really in his hands, then I'm afraid we won't even have a chance to escape. It's fine. Even if it is in his hands, he won't dare to revive it here, because it will affect the entire Tianluo city. As the great elder of Heavencloud Mountain, he won't dare to hurt the innocent. As long as he doesn't revive it, then it's almost impossible to keep us here. Qin Feiyong secretly said. So you've already thought about it. I realize that ever since I started fooling around with you, I haven't used my brain much. It's almost rusty. Thinking back to the past, I can be considered a resourceful young man. Huai sighed. Resourceful, I believe. But a young man. Do you have any shame? Qin Feiyong's face was full of disdain. A half-step immortal realm old man calling himself a young man every day. How thick was his skin? Chapter 2299. Hui laughed dryly, got up and said, I have to personally greet Great Elder Su. After saying that, he took a step forward and passed through the enchantment, standing outside the door with his hands behind his back. Zhang Xiaofeng looked at Hui outside and said, Father, grandfather, great-grandfather, why don't we take action now and take down Qin Feiyong? Huh. The three of them were stunned. Zhang Xiaofeng secretly said, As long as we take the opportunity to take him down and use him as a hostage, no matter how strong Huai is, he can only hold back. I agree. The patriarch of the Yun family's eyes flashed and said, You still agree with such a stupid idea? I think you've reached the end of your days as a patriarch. The red-haired old man immediately shouted. The patriarch of the Yun family's eyes trembled and said, Uncle, isn't this a good idea? What's so good about it? Do you know how strong a half-step eternal realm expert is? Let me tell you. He only needs to release his pressure, and we will become lambs waiting to be slaughtered. What a pig head! The red-haired old man snorted coldly. Big Brother's words make sense. In front of such a strong person, the most rational thing to do is to stand here obediently and not move. Otherwise, you will only suffer the consequences of your own actions. The patriarch of the Yun family said. Hearing this, the Yun father and son couldn't help but break out in cold sweat. But the most nervous were the Zhang father and son. This time, not only did they offend Qin Feiyong and Huai, but they also offended Suemo. And now, even the Yun family hated them to the bone. Because if it weren't for their message, the patriarch of the Yun family wouldn't have come. If the patriarch of the Yun family didn't come, so many soul stones wouldn't have been taken away. The fate of the Zhang family in the future was worrying. Whoosh! Finally, a burly man descended in front of the main hall. It was Suemo. As soon as he appeared, he saw Huai standing at the door and his face suddenly changed. Why was this person also here? Why didn't the patriarch of the Zhang family say so before? Not good. This was a killing trap. As the great elder of Heavenly Cloud Mountain, he was naturally not a stupid person. Soon, he thought of a possibility. The patriarch of the Zhang family betrayed him. He immediately turned around and prepared to escape. Whoosh! But at this moment, Huai took a step forward and landed behind Suemo. He placed his hand on Sumo's shoulder and said with a smile, "I've been waiting for you for a long time. Why are you still running?" Sumo's body stiffened. Hui released his hand and said with a smile, "Let's go in and have a good chat." Suemo swallowed his saliva and strode towards the door of the main hall. He saw Qin Feiyang, the father and son of the Zhang clan, the 4 members of the Yun clan, and Zhang Xiaoyang and his wife. There was a trace of surprise in his eyes. Why are there so many people? Hui had a smile on his face as he unhurriedly followed behind him. Suddenly, Suemo suddenly turned around and slammed a palm towards Hui's chest. "Hey!" Hui grinned, raised his arm, and grabbed Sumo's wrist with lightning speed, saying, "What are you doing? In any case, we are old acquaintances." Sumo's face paled. Although he was at the great circle of the 9 heavens realm, he didn't have the slightest ability to resist Hui, who was a half-step undying. "Don't make me angry. If I get angry, the consequences will be very serious," Hui said. Sumo's gaze trembled as he nodded helplessly, saying, "Okay, I'll go in." "That's right." Hui released his hand and then waved. The barrier split open and smiled, saying, "Please." Sumo's heart was filled with bitterness as he passed through the barrier and entered the main hall. After Hui entered, the barrier quickly healed. "Greetings, great elder." The red-haired old man bowed. "What are you doing here?" Suemo secretly said. "It's all the Zhang clan's masterpiece. It's a long story." The red-haired old man sighed. As the law-enforcing elder of Heavenly Cloud Mountain, he was naturally very familiar with Suemo Zhang clan. Suemo muttered and turned to stare at the Zhang clan head. He transmitted his voice, "You dare to harm me? Just you wait, this old man won't let you off." The Zhang clan head's body trembled. As expected, he had angered Suemo. Suemo smiled coldly and looked at Qin Feiyang and Hui, saying, "Your courage is really not small. Don't you know that my Heavenly Cloud Mountain and Treasure Pavilion are looking for you?" "Of course we know. But so what? The 2 killing intents of the ancestral dragon, plus Shun Qianshan and Chou Tianwei, the 2 half-step undying experts, are not my match? Do you think I'm afraid of your arrest?" Hui's face was full of disdain. Sumo's pupils contracted. As the great elder of Heavenly Cloud Mountain, he naturally knew about this. 2 half-step undying experts and 2 killing intents of the ancestral dragon couldn't take these 2 down? Could be said that, whether it was him or the other giants of Heavenly Cloud Mountain, this matter had a huge impact. It even felt like a dream. Suemo said in a deep voice, "Then why did you let the Zhang clan head trick me here?" "Ouyang Wenyi," Qin Feiyang said. "Ouyang Wenyi?" Suemo was slightly stunned and frowned, saying, "How did you get involved with him?" Qin Feiyang sighed. "This Ouyang Wenyi was once a sworn enemy of mine." "So it's a sworn enemy?" Suemo breathed a sigh of relief. He thought he was this person's friend. Qin Feiyang changed the topic and said, "However, this is all in the past. I don't want to care about it anymore." As Qin Feiyang's voice fell, Suemo became nervous again. Qin Feiyang pointed at Zhang Xiaoyang and said, "I heard them say that Ouyang Wenyi is in the hands of you siblings." "Nonsense!" Suemo immediately shouted. "Is there a need to quibble? Just now, when the Zhang clan had sent you a message, we were here, so we saw your reaction," Qin Feiyang said. Suemo glared at the Zhang clan head angrily, then looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "I did attack him, but he didn't die." "Didn't die?" Qin Feiyang was stunned. "That's right. At that time I could have killed him. But at the critical moment, his heaven-defying divine artifact took him away. In the past year, I have also been looking for him, but there has been no news of him. That's why I rushed over here in such a hurry after hearing the message from the Zhang clan's clan head. Suemo said. Not dead. Qin Feiyong muttered and turned to look at Zhang Xiaoyang and Suemo. The black-clothed youth said in a deep voice, He is lying. Who are you? Why are you slandering me? Do I have a grudge against you? Suemo said angrily. I am a friend of Ouyang Wenyi. When you siblings were murdering for money, I was with Ouyang Wenyi. Don't you remember? The black-clothed youth shouted. You were with Ouyang Wenyi? Wait. Why don't I remember someone like you? I remember that at that time, Ouyang Wenyi had a demonic dragon by his side. Suemo frowned. Demonic dragon? Qin Feiyong looked stunned, and a flash of inspiration immediately flashed in his mind. The black-clothed youth sneered. How long has it been? Do you have to pretend not to know me? I really don't know you. Who the hell are you? Suemo said angrily. Qin Feiyong glanced at the two of them, his eyes flickering. Hori suspiciously said, Brother Qin, what's the situation? The situation is obvious. Between them, one of them is lying. Qin Feiyong secretly said. Lying? Hui was stunned, looking at Suemo and the black-clothed youth. Qin Feiyong, I dare to guarantee with my head that Ouyang Wenyi died in his hands. He is pretending not to know me now because he is afraid that you will find trouble with him. The black-clothed youth looked at Qin Feiyong and said. Nonsense. Suemo shouted. Stop. Qin Feiyong hurriedly waved his hand and lowered his head to ponder. Suddenly, a glint flashed across his eyes. He looked up at Suemo and said with a smile, Whether Ouyang Wenyi died in your hands or not, it is an indisputable fact that you killed and robbed. Sumo's heart sank. This Ouyang Wenyi, to be honest, I don't have a good impression of him. But there is no other way. Someone told me that I must find him and protect him. But I didn't expect that this would happen. If I let you go now, I really can't explain it, so I can only wrong you a little. Qin Feiyong said. What do you want to do? Sumo's face changed. While retreating, he looked at him vigilantly. If you do something wrong, you have to pay the price. Moreover, because of your sister's death, if I don't get rid of you today, I will die in your hands sooner or later. Qin Feiyong laughed. Suemo hurriedly said, Believe me, I never thought of avenging my sister. I'm sorry. I can't believe you. Qin Feiyong shook his head and turned to look at Hui. Hui smiled. The pressure rolled out and Suemo was immediately imprisoned, as if he was frozen, unable to move at all. Then, Hui flicked his finger, and a wisp of divine power flew out, carrying a shocking murderous aura, toward Sumo's forehead like lightning. No, Suemo roared in horror. The next moment, his roar turned into a scream. The divine power entered Sumo's forehead, and his head exploded like a watermelon, blood splattering on the spot. Seeing this scene, the four people of the Yun family, the Zhang father and son, and Zhang Xiaoyang were all dumbfounded. The Grand Elder of the Heavenly Cloud Mountain was killed just like that. And it was so easy, so simple. It was like crushing an ant. Was this the strength of a half-step invincible realm? Although there was only one step between the peak ninth heaven realm and the half-step invincible realm, the difference between these two realms was like heaven and earth. How terrifying! At this moment, the hearts of the group were flooded with fear. Who could afford to offend such a ruthless person? Chapter 2300. But Qin Feiyong and Hui frowned. Up until the moment of his death, he had not seen Suemo reveal his divine weapon. What did this mean? It meant the demon ancestor's heaven-defying artifact was not in his hands. This also meant that the person who lied was actually the black-clothed youth. Hui's eyes flashed with killing intent as he sent a sound transmission. Dare to lie to us? Do you want to kill him? Don't worry. Qin Feiyong secretly said something, walked to Sumo's body, and took off the universe ring on his hand, and released his spirit sense into Sumo's body. Soon, with a clang, a black iron rod appeared. The iron rod was about 1 meter long and half an arm thick. A lifelike divine dragon was engraved on it, emitting a monstrous divine might. When the red-haired old man saw the iron rod, his eyes lit up. What is it? The Yun family patriarch secretly said. The red-haired old man sent a sound transmission. This is the coiling dragon rod. A legendary level artifact. Legendary level artifact. When the Yun family patriarch heard this, his eyes couldn't help but light up. Although the Yun family was powerful, they did not have a legendary level artifact. This was because legendary grade divine artifacts were extremely rare even in the 4 major regions of the ancient realm. So, other than Heavenly Cloud Mountain and Nine Heavens Palace, or a superforce like the Treasure Pavilion, it was almost impossible to find. With a wave of his hand, Qin Feiyang sent the coiling dragon rod and the universe ring to the castle. Then, he turned to look at the Zhang family patriarch. The Zhang family patriarch was panicking to the extreme. Ouyang Wenyi's death has nothing to do with you, why are you so nervous? Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. The Zhang family patriarch said in fear. But, Qin Feiyang asked, do you want to talk about the death of Zhang Xiaoyang's parents? The Zhang family patriarch nodded. Qin Feiyang laughed. Zhang Xiaoyang and I just met by chance. What does the death of his parents have to do with me? Hearing this, the Zhang family patriarch finally breathed a sigh of relief. Brother Li, no, Brother Qin, with my cultivation, it's impossible for me to take revenge in my lifetime. Can you help me? Zhang Xiaoyang said hurriedly. You have to rely on yourself for revenge. What's the point of asking others for help? We'll talk about it later. The Zhang family has already given me the soul stone. I have no reason to cause trouble for them. Of course, that includes the Yun family. I'll leave the rest to you. After Qin Feiyang finished speaking, he waved his hand and disappeared with Hua Yi without a trace. The barrier immediately dissipated. Let's go. The black-clothed youth's face changed. He quickly grabbed Zhang Xiaoyang and rushed outside. You want to leave? The head of the Zhang clan smiled ferociously. His aura rolled out, and the two of them were immediately imprisoned in the void. What should we do? Panic filled Zhang Xiaoyang's face. Qin Feiyang, that bastard. The black-clothed youth cursed. Meanwhile, the Yun family's patriarch and the red-haired old man released their inner sight and scanned the hall. How is it? Yun family head asked. Old patriarch Yun said, we didn't find them, nor did we find any spatial divine items. Seems like they really have left. Good. The Yun family's patriarch was overjoyed. He immediately looked at the Zhang family's patriarch and shouted, Zhang, you dare to harm our Yun family. Today you will die without a doubt. Boom. Finished. He took a step forward, carrying a monstrous aura, and charged towards the Zhang family's patriarch. The Zhang family's patriarch was about to kill Zhang Xiaoyang and Zhang Xiaoyang. When he saw this situation, he immediately shouted, listen to my explanation. Go to the underworld and slowly explain to the king of hell. The Yun family's patriarch's eyes were filled with a cold smile. Damn it. The Zhang family's patriarch cursed and shouted, Feng, go and ask your grandfather to come out. All right. Zhang Xiaofeng nodded and rushed out of the door like lightning. Even if he comes out, he won't be able to stop the destruction of your Zhang family. The Yun family's patriarch grinned and slapped at Zhang Xiaofeng. Accompanied by a shrill scream, Zhang Xiaofeng died on the spot. Feng, the Zhang family's patriarch cried out in grief. You go and accompany him too. The Yun family's patriarch once again charged towards the Zhang family's patriarch. Boom! The grief-stricken Zhang family's patriarch also threw a punch at the Yun family's patriarch. The majesty that imprisoned Zhang Xiaoyang and Hua Yi also disappeared. The black-clothed youth's gaze immediately carried Zhang Xiaoyang and flew into the air without looking back. Boom! The two patriarchs collided. The great council hall shattered with a loud bang. This is bad. At the same time that the hall shattered, a cry of alarm sounded out from the back of the hall. This voice. There was a spatial divine object hidden in the dust and smoke. This spatial divine object was the ancient castle. That's right. Qin Feiyang did not really leave. After bringing Hua Yi into the ancient castle, he immediately took out the divine moon jade pendant and concealed the traces of the ancient castle. So, even the Yun family's patriarch and the red-haired old man, who were both at the Nine Heavens realm, were unable to capture the ancient castle. And the reason why Qin Feiyang did this was naturally to follow Zhang Xiaoyang and Hua Yi. Hearing that cry of alarm, Qin Feiyong and Hui looked at each other, and a trace of bewilderment immediately crawled up their faces. Why was this woman also in the Zhang family? Hui urged. Quickly take a look, is it her? Qin Feiyong waved his hand and the scene changed. Soon, in the scene, a young woman dressed in fiery clothes appeared. The woman was sent flying by a collapsed wall. She spat out blood and her face was pale. Really is her. Hui raised his eyebrows. Why would she be here? Qin Feiyong also frowned. The woman in the picture was the woman who accompanied him to drink at the celestial immortal wine. What happened? Let's go and take a look. The battle between the two patriarchs also alarmed the entire Zhang family. Even the people outside could sense the fluctuations in the Zhang family. That moment, the Zhang family was in chaos. The people outside also rushed towards the Zhang family one after another. Whoosh! In the dust and smoke, the Yun family's patriarch, the red-haired old man, appeared with Sumo's corpse in his arms. The Yun family's patriarch glanced at the Zhang family's patriarch, then looked at the red-haired old man and asked, "Big brother, how should we deal with the Zhang family?" "Exterminate the family," the red-haired old man said word by word. His tone was filled with a bone-chilling coldness. "Okay." The Yun family's patriarch nodded. "Just a Zhang family. You're enough. I'll go back to Heavenly Cloud Mountain first and report this matter to the Deputy Peak Master. These two bastards, I will definitely not let them go." The red-haired old man said gloomily. "Not only can't we let them go, we'll cut them into pieces." The Yun family's patriarch's eyes were also filled with resentment. A total of 100 billion soul stones. This time their Yun family could be said to have lost everything. The red-haired old man opened an altar and quickly left with Sumo's corpse. Just after the red-haired old man left, the Yun family's patriarch suddenly noticed the woman and shouted, "Who are you?" "I." The woman curled up on the ground, shivering and looking extremely pitiful. The Yun family's patriarch smiled coldly, thinking that she was from the Zhang family. With a wave of his hand, a wisp of divine power emerged and blasted towards the woman. Subsequently, the Yun family's patriarch flew towards a hall in the distance without looking back, his eyes flashing with killing intent. That hall was the Zhang family's patriarch's place of seclusion. As for the woman, he didn't take it to heart at all. A wisp of divine power was enough to end her life. But he didn't know that just as the wisp of divine power was about to kill the woman, a young man appeared. The young man just waved his hand lightly, and the divine power directly disintegrated. Immediately after, the young man grabbed the woman and disappeared without a trace. Not only did the Yun family's patriarch not notice this scene, even the Zhang family's patriarch and the Yun family's patriarch didn't notice it. The current Zhang family had completely fallen into chaos. In the blink of an eye, inside the castle, Qin Feiyong and Hui stood in the hall, looking at the battered and exhausted woman in front of them. They couldn't help but frown. That's right. The person who went out to save the woman was Hui. "You." The woman's face was full of fear. "Hui, interrogate her properly." Qin Feiyong turned his head and looked at the image in the void, looking for Zhang Xiaoyang and Hui. Soon, he found the two of them. The two of them were fleeing out of the Zhang family. Qin Feiyong immediately drove the castle to chase after them. Hui looked at the woman and frowned. "Speak, why are you in the Zhang family?" The woman stammered. "Speak quickly," Hui shouted. The woman quivered and exclaimed, "I am originally a member of the Zhang family." "A member of the Zhang family?" Hui was slightly taken aback and sneered. "Do you think I'm stupid? If you are really a member of the Zhang family, with the Zhang family's wealth and financial resources, why would you need to go to the Celestial Immortal Pavilion to drink?" "I don't want to either. But I am the same as Zhang Xiaoyang. I am just a branch disciple of the Zhang family. I am not valued at all." The woman felt wronged. Hui frowned and said, "Well, even if you are a member of the Zhang family, then why are you in the Great Council Hall?" "I came to find the patriarch for something, but I didn't expect to meet you, so I peeked outside for a while." "Don't worry. Everything I saw today, even if you beat me to death, don't kill me," the woman said in horror. Hui sized up the woman. Other than fear, there was nothing else on her face. He turned and walked to Qin Feiyong's side, and whispered, "What do you think?" "I don't know. But I still feel that this woman is a little abnormal, Qin Feiyang whispered. In the Heaven Immortal Tower, this woman was especially concerned about him. Originally, he thought that this woman was doing it for money, but he didn't expect to meet her in the Zhang family again. If this wasn't a coincidence, then there must be a mystery behind it. So he couldn't be careless. But now he wasn't in the mood to care about this woman. What he was most concerned about was whether the demon ancestor was dead or not. The woman stood behind the two, looked at their backs, and curiously sized up the ancient castle. She seemed to be no longer afraid. Did you see that? Even if Qin Feiyang doesn't help you take revenge, the Yun family won't let the Zhang family off. The destruction of the Zhang family is destined. The black-clothed young man had already left the Zhang family and stopped in the sky above the street outside. He glanced at the chaotic Zhang family and said to Zhang Xiaoyang, "They deserve it, they deserve it." There was no sympathy in Zhang Xiaoyang's eyes. The black-clothed young man smiled and said, "Then let's go back and report." "Okay." Zhang Xiaoyang nodded. The black-clothed young man immediately opened an altar. The two of them walked up one after another. Chapter 2301. In front of the heavenly cloud mountain, there was a boundless sea. This was the largest forbidden area in the eastern tomb, the Tianluo Sea. However, the people of the Divine Land had another name for the Tianluo Sea, the Eastern Sea. In other words, the Tianluo Sea and the Tianluo Sea were actually connected, but they were relatively far away. At this moment, near the Tianluo Sea, there was a mountain peak that was about 10,000 feet tall. On the mountain, the vegetation was lush. A young man in black stood on a bluestone on the mountain peak, looking at the sea in front of him. His dark eyes were incomparably deep. This person was tall and straight with his hands behind his back. His long hair fluttered in the wind. His cold facial features were as if they had been carved by a knife. His entire body emitted a demonic aura. His cultivation was only at the minor divine lord realm. In the ancient world, a minor divine lord realm cultivation was considered a very weak person. However, this person's gaze and temperament gave people a sense of oppression that made people involuntarily feel fear. The mountain peak was dead silent. Swish! But suddenly two figures descended. It was Zhang Xiaoyang and the black-robed young man. "Lord." The black-robed young man bowed. Zhang Xiaoyang's face was also full of respect. The young man retracted his gaze and turned to look at the two of them. "How was it?" The black-robed young man said. "The development of the matter is somewhat unexpected." "What do you mean?" The young man was curious. "Didn't you ask us to go to the Heaven Immortal Tower to bid for the immortal wine? Then use the immortal wine to get close to Qin Feiyang and Hua Yi? But guess what? When we were bidding for the immortal wine, we met Qin Feiyang." The black-robed young man said. "Such a coincidence?" The young man was surprised. "What a coincidence. At that time I just casually found a seat, but I didn't expect the person opposite me to be him." Zhang Xiaoyang said. The black-robed young man smiled and said, "But at that time he changed his appearance, so I didn't recognize him immediately." "And then?" the young man asked. Then Zhang Xiaoyang went to look for him again and happened to be bumped into by the Zhang family's housekeeper. The black-robed young man briefly explained the situation. As the saying goes, there is no story without coincidences. The young man shook his head and smiled. He then looked at the black-clothed young man and asked, "What is his attitude towards me now?" "My attitude towards you." The black-clothed young man thought for a moment and said, "I don't know either. But he said that he didn't want to fuss about the past. I think he probably won't." At this moment, a cold voice sounded. "If you want to know my attitude towards you, shouldn't you ask me face to face?" Before he finished speaking, two figures appeared out of thin air. It was Qin Feiyang and Hui. The three of them were startled. They looked at Qin Feiyang and his companion. "What is it?" "Surprised. Actually, you should have known that I'm not that easy to fool." Qin Feiyang looked at the young man and said. That was right. The person in front of him was the fiend ancestor that he had been bitterly searching for. The fiend ancestor looked at Qin Feiyang in a daze. A wry smile gradually appeared on his face as he said, "Yes, I should have expected it." Qin Feiyang glanced at him indifferently. He then looked at the black-clothed young man and said, "You are Mo Long, right?" The black-clothed young man's pupil shrank. Qin Feiyong asked, "I can't figure it out. How did I know?" The black-clothed young man nodded. "You hid it very well. At first, I really didn't recognize you. It's just that I faintly sensed a familiar aura from you. But when Suemo came and mentioned the mystic dragon, your figure immediately appeared in my mind. At that time I was thinking, could you be Mo Long?" Later, Suemo said that when the siblings attacked the fiend ancestor in the Sky Luo Sea, they didn't see you at all. They only saw Mo Long beside him. Although you tried to quibble at that time, you couldn't stop my suspicions. Finally, when Hui killed Suemo, I was even more certain that you were Mo Long, because you kept saying that the fiend ancestor's heaven-defying divine artifact was in Sumo's hands, but Suemo didn't show it until he died. What does that mean? It means that the divine artifact isn't with him at all. It also means that the fiend ancestor isn't dead. It also means that you're lying. Why did you lie? I think there's only one possibility. Everything is being manipulated by the fiend ancestor. So I followed you all the way here to see what tricks you're playing. Qin Feiyong sneered. Amazing. Zhang Xiaoyang muttered. Could it be that the fiend ancestor was so afraid of this person? He and the fiend ancestor had known each other for a long time. In the past, whenever Qin Feiyong's name was mentioned, he could always see deep fear in the fiend ancestor's eyes. In his opinion, it was a bit exaggerated. But now, it seemed that the fiend ancestor's fear wasn't unreasonable. Qin Feiyong looked at the fiend ancestor and said, "Tell me, what do you want to do with so many things? On one hand, I do want to borrow your hand to get rid of Suemo and the others. I won't hide it from you. Ever since I was ambushed by Suemo and his sister in the Sky Dragon Sea, I've been thinking about how to settle the score with them. But I couldn't think of a way. Because my strength is too weak compared to them. And just a few days ago, I suddenly heard news about you. I was very surprised at that time. Aren't you in the Great Qin? Why did you appear in the ancient world? I even thought that it might just be someone with the same name. Later, I asked Mo Long and Zhang Xiaoyang to investigate. I didn't expect it to really be you. So, I thought of this plan. I used Hui's hobby of drinking to get Mo Long, and the others to get 2 pots of heavenly immortal wine to curry favor with you. But I never expected that they would meet you in the Heaven Immortal Tower. You know what happened later, so I don't need to say it, right? Of course. Before this, I didn't know what happened later. After all, it was outside of my plan. It was Mo Long who acted on his own. But he handled this matter very well. Not only did he kill Suemo, but he also avenged Zhang Xiaoyang. The demon ancestor smiled. Mo Long bowed and said, "Thank you for your praise, my lord." Qin Feiyong frowned and said, "So, the death of Zhang Xiaoyang's parents is also true?" "These things are all true." The demon ancestor nodded. Qin Feiyong said, "Then why didn't you come to me directly? Why did you go through so much trouble?" "Because I feel guilty in my heart." The demon ancestor sighed deeply. Qin Feiyong fell silent. "Because of me, the people of the Great Qin were plunged into misery and suffering. Because of me, your grandfather, your maternal grandfather, and your mother suffered countless hardships. It was also because of me that you were expelled from the imperial capital. It was also because of me that you and your father became mortal enemies. And the mermaid princess, I am a sinful person. I don't have the face to see you. Even now, I don't know how to face you." The demon ancestor turned to look at the sea ahead and muttered. There was deep regret between his brows. Immortal war god, immortal war god. Chapter 2302. After listening to demon ancestor's words, Hui was surprised. "I didn't expect your grudge to be so deep." "Shut up." Qin Feiyong glared at him, looked up at demon ancestor's back and said, "Do you think I will believe you if you put on an act like this? My lord isn't pretending." Demon dragon roared. "Demon dragon," demon ancestor scolded. "My lord, please let me say it." Demon dragon looked at demon ancestor pleadingly. Demon ancestor sighed. "You have to pay the price for doing wrong. What else is there to say?" "Yes. We did do a lot of wrong in the past, but it's different now," Demon Dragon said and looked at Qin Feiyong. "Do you know how my lord has been through all these years? Every day he blamed himself. He never had a day of peace. He kept thinking about how to make it up to you. He didn't pretend. I saw it with my own eyes. I feel bad for him. Also, over the years, my lord has been looking for a way to help Lin Yi restore her memory. Do you know why my lord entered the Tianluo Sea several times? He didn't go there to gain experience at all. He went there to find a treasure called Heavenly Ganoderma. It is said that this Heavenly Ganoderma is very helpful in restoring memory. On the way to find the Heavenly Ganoderma, he was besieged by sea beasts, which exposed the heaven-defying artifact. This attracted Su Mo and his sister's greed. My lord has done enough. Why can't you forgive him? Demon Dragon roared. Forgive? Qin Feiyong murmured, walked to Demon Ancestor's side, looked at the sea ahead and said, put yourself in my shoes. If it were you, would you forgive me so easily? Demon Dragon went silent. Yes. If it were him, forget about forgiveness. He would try every means to get rid of the other party. Don't forget about the inner demons. His death was also caused by you. Qin Feiyong said. I'm sorry. Demon Ancestor turned his head to look at Qin Feiyong and said, forget it. It doesn't make sense to say this now. Remember, the reason why I'm not killing you now is not because I've forgotten about this hatred. It's because of the ancestors' orders. Qin Feiyong said. Qin Batian? Demon Alpha was shocked. She asked, you found him? Yes. He's in Divine Land now. The reason I'm in Dongling is to look for you and Dong Zhongyang. Qin Feiyong nodded. Why are you looking for us? The fiend ancestor was suspicious. I don't know either. Not only did the ancestor ask me to look for you, he also asked me to protect you. Do you know how angry I will be when I hear those words? But there's nothing I can do about it. I can't disobey my ancestor's words. Qin Feiyong sighed. Ancestor Fiend asked, is he doing well? Very good. Qin Feiyong nodded and asked, do you have any news about Dong Zhongyang? No. When we entered the ancient world, a mysterious force descended. When I woke up, Demon Dragon and I were already in Dongling. I also went to look for Mu Tianyang and Dong Zhongyang, but there was no news at all. Ancestor Fiend shook her head. Qin Feiyong said, Mu Tianyang and Mu Qing are both in the northern region, and they have already followed my ancestor into Divine Land. They're in the northern region? Ancestor Fiend was slightly stunned. I really didn't expect that. It's really an ill-fated relationship. I was in the northern region with them and we experienced a lot together. Qin Feiyong laughed self-deprecatingly. Ancestor Fiend said, in that case, the grudge between you two. You're thinking too much. Whether it's you or Mu Tianyang, I can't forgive either of you. Qin Feiyong sneered. Ancestor Fiend smiled bitterly and asked, so we're going to look for Dong Zhongyang next? That's right. Since he's not in Dongling or the northern region, he must be in the western desert or the southern wilderness. Do you have anything else to do in Dongling? If not, let's get ready to set off. When we find Dong Zhongyang, we'll immediately go to Divine Land. Qin Feiyong said. Ancestor Fiend thought for a moment and shook his head. The Su siblings are dead, so there's nothing else. Demon Dragon frowned and said telepathically, my lord, are we really going to follow him? I know Qin Batian too well. He won't do anything meaningless. Since he asked Qin Feiyong to come to me, he definitely needs my help. This is a good opportunity to atone for my sins. Ancestor Fiend said. All right. Demon Dragon nodded. Ancestor Fiend turned to look at Zhang Xiaoyang and smiled. It seems that our fate has come to an end. Zhang Xiaoyang's expression froze. He hesitated and asked, can't you bring me along? You have your own life. There's no need to risk your life with us. Moreover, it's not suitable for you to follow us. Ancestor Fiend shook his head. But, Zhang Xiaoyang still wanted to say something. Ancestor Fiend smiled. If fate wills it, we'll meet again. All right. Zhang Xiaoyang nodded. Today you're not going anywhere. But at that moment, accompanied by a cold shout, two figures descended in the void above. A terrifying aura instantly came crashing down like a tsunami. Qin Feiyong and the others immediately changed. They looked up and saw an old man and a woman standing in the sky. The old man was Shen Qianshan. As for the woman, she was wearing a colorful dress. Her figure was extremely good, but her expression was unclear. The aura she exuded was not inferior to Shin Qianshan at all. Obviously, she was a half-step invincible realm cultivator like Shin Qianshan. Not good. It's the deputy peak master of Heavenly Cloud Mountain. Ancestor Fiend thought. Why are they here? Who tipped them off? Demon Dragon said angrily. Qin Feiyong looked at Demon Dragon and shouted, "Shouldn't I be asking you this?" Demon Dragon was stunned and said with a frown, "You suspect that we betrayed you." Chapter 2303. Shin Qianshan also acted as if he was going to take advantage of the situation. His entire body was filled with killing intent. Humph. Hui snorted coldly. He pretended to turn around and escape, quickly opening the note. There were only 10 words on it. "There are spies around you. Don't transmit your voice." The handwriting was very messy. It was clearly written by Shin Qianshan in a hurry. Spies. Hui clenched his fist, holding the note. His eyes flashed coldly. Who could be the spy? Demon Ancestor? Mo Long? Or Zhang Xiaoyang? Shin Qianshan shouted. "You can't avoid today's battle." "Is that so?" Hui stopped and turned to look at Shin Qianshan. A cold smile appeared on his face. Shin Qianshan did not say anything and punched at Hui again. The void shattered and the earth collapsed. He did not hold back at all. Hui was about to attack. Boom! But at this moment, 2 more terrifying auras descended. Qin Feiyong and the others looked up and saw an old man and an old woman appear in the sky. The old man was about 1.6 meters tall. His body was even stronger than the young man. His hair was red like fire, and his expression was extremely cold. The old woman had white hair, a hunched body and a face full of wrinkles. However, her aura was extremely terrifying. "It's them. Cho Tianwei, Pavilion Master." The demon ancestor was shocked. Even they were here. In other words, next they were going to face 4 half-step undying experts. Hui's face could not help but darken. He did not fight with Shin Qianshan anymore. He teleported and instantly landed beside Qin Feiyong. "The situation is not good." Qin Feiyong whispered. "It's not bad. It's a disaster." As Hui spoke, he secretly stuffed the note into Qin Feiyong's hand. "What is it?" Qin Feiyong was puzzled. "See for yourself," Hui said. Qin Feiyong opened the note and glanced at it. He was shocked. How could there be a spy? Hui said, "Don't say anything." As expected, Qin Feiyong destroyed the note and his eyes flickered. This piece of paper had to be destroyed. Otherwise, if it fell into the hands of someone with ulterior motives, it would directly implicate Shin Qianshan. However, who was this spy? From the contents of the note, Shin Qianshan did not know who the spy was. Otherwise, Shin Qianshan would not have written these words. Instead, he would have written the name of the spy. Who was it? Demon Ancestor, Demon Dragon, Zhang Xiaoyang? Or are they all? Hui and Fire Lotus were definitely impossible. The Treasure Pavilion Master's gaze swept over Qin Feiyong's group, and his cold voice sounded, "Do you need us to introduce ourselves?" "I wouldn't dare. For half-step undying realm experts have come for me. It is truly my honor." Qin Feiyong said. "Since you know that we're here for you, you should know better and come with us obediently." The Pavilion Master of the Treasure Pavilion said. Cho Tianwei said coldly, "That's right. Don't make any unnecessary resistance. Haven't you suffered enough outside the city?" Hui sneered. "Do you think you still have the ability to hurt us now? Now we have 4 half-step undying realm experts, and even Heavenly Cloud Mountain has brought a heaven-defying divine artifact." Shin Qianshan said coldly. "What?" Demon Ancestor and the other 2 were shocked. They actually brought a heaven-defying divine artifact? Qin Feiyong and Hui looked at each other, their eyes flashing slightly. Obviously Shin Qianshan was hinting at them to quickly think of a way to escape. For half-step undying realm experts and a heaven-defying divine artifact. Even if Hui could raise his cultivation to the initial undying realm like last time, there was no way he could survive. Hui took a deep breath and said with a smile, "Qin Feiyong, it seems that there will be a tough battle today." Qin Feiyong nodded. The foundation of the 2 sides was far from that. Because in the body of the Vice Peak Master and the Pavilion Master, there was still the killing intent of the Ancestor Dragon. Could be said that this was a battle with no chance of winning. Let's do it, the multicolor-clothed woman said coldly. Shan Qianshan, Cho Tianwei, and the Treasure Pavilion Master nodded. Boom! The four of them released their auras at the same time, rolling toward Qin Feiyang and the others. Demon Ancestor shouted, "Quickly enter the Tunluo Sea." Huai waved his hand and immediately swept Qin Feiyang and the others into the sea without looking back. Shan Qianshan and the others didn't stop him, because this was exactly what they wanted. After all, this place was too close to Tianluo City and Heavenly Cloud Mountain. Once the battle started, they would definitely be affected. They didn't want to be the sinners of Dongling. The four of them also chased into the Tianluo Sea. Wherever they went, huge waves were set off. No, we can't escape like this. We have to be faster, Demon Ancestor said in a deep voice. As for Zhang Xiaoyang, he was so scared that his face turned pale. He was just a small figure in the Zhang family. When had he ever seen such a scene? Just the aura released by Shan Qianshan and the others made him feel despair. Qin Feiyang looked back at the four of them and took out a jade box from his universe ring. What is it? Demon Ancestor and Demon Dragon looked at the jade box curiously. You are actually in the mood to care about this? Zhang Xiaoyang looked at the two of them in shock and anger. Demon Ancestor was stunned and sighed. I told you that you are not suitable to follow us. In fact, Zhang Xiaoyang was quite regretful now. He shouldn't have hesitated then. If he didn't hesitate then, he would have missed Shan Qianshan and the others. Now he might be in Tianluo City, drinking wine and enjoying a carefree life. It was a pity it was too late. Qin Feiyang opened the jade box and 3 elixirs appeared. It was the Heavenly Dust Divine Pill. After erasing the 2 killing intents of the Ancestral Dragon, he refined the remaining 3 sets of herbs into elixirs just in case. This is... Demon Ancestor was suspicious. Hui frowned. Don't tell me you want me to take this elixir again? Other than this, there is no other way, Qin Feiyang said. No. Hui shook his head. Now that he thought about the side effects, he couldn't help but feel his scalp tingle. Can you not be like a little girl? Qin Feiyang glared at him angrily. You don't know that feeling. When Hui said this, his expression suddenly froze. He waved his hand and said, Wait, you said that this thing can only be taken 1 a day? Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. Then it's fine. Or I can't take it today. Hui smiled. Why? Qin Feiyang frowned. Did you forget that when I fought with Shan Qianshan and the others in the morning I only took 1? Hui said. In the morning? Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned. Then a bitter smile appeared on his face. The battle with Shan Qianshan and the others had indeed happened in the morning. However, too many things had happened that day, so he couldn't help but have an illusion that several days had passed. If the Heavenly Dust Divine Pill can't be used, then what else can I do? This made him even more worried. If Hui's cultivation could be raised to the initial imperishable realm, there might be a chance of survival. But now wait. Qin Feiyang suddenly looked at Demon Ancestor. Didn't Demon Ancestor have a heaven-defying divine artifact? Why are you looking at me? Demon Ancestor looked at him suspiciously. Qin Feiyang frowned and said, Don't look like I'm helpless. Quickly take out your heaven-defying divine artifact. Yes, quickly take out your divine artifact. I heard Brother Qin say that your divine artifact has the power of space-time law. As long as it appears, it will definitely not be a problem to take us away. Hui's eyes lit up as he hurriedly said. Demon Ancestor and Demon Dragon looked at each other, and a bitter smile appeared on their faces. What do you mean? Qin Feiyang and Demon Dragon were suspicious. Demon Ancestor thought, if I had the heaven-defying divine artifact, would I still need to borrow your hands to kill Suemo? The two were stunned. Qin Feiyang said in surprise, Could it be that when you fought with Suemo and his sister, your heaven-defying divine artifact was destroyed? No. Demon Ancestor shook his head. If it wasn't destroyed, then why isn't it here? Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows. Demon Ancestor said it left. Left? Qin Feiyang was shocked. Yes. Back then, after it took us away from Suemo and his sister, it told us that it would leave for a while. Until now, I haven't seen it come back. Demon Ancestor said helplessly. Qin Feiyong and Huiyi looked at each other. Huiyi asked, where did it go? I don't know. Didn't say. It only said that if it doesn't come back in half a year, don't wait for it. Now a year has passed and there's still no sign of it. That's why I decided to go with you. Demon Ancestor shook his head. Huiyi could not help but smile bitterly and said, this is really one disaster after another. Qin Feiyong took a deep breath and said, it's impossible to open the slaughter zone because we can't find enough blood right now. The only thing we can do now is to find a chance to open the space-time gate. There are 4 half-step immortal realm experts chasing after us. Tell me, how do we open the space-time gate? Huiyi said powerlessly. Qin Feiyong turned to look at the 4 and said in a deep voice, opportunities are fought for. Huiyi nodded and said, okay, you think of a way. We'll listen to your arrangements. Qin Feiyong lowered his head, his mind spinning rapidly. He would definitely think of a way. However, before he could think of a way, another change occurred. Boom! Suddenly, 2 terrifying killing auras appeared. Qin Feiyong and the others suddenly shivered and hurriedly turned their heads to look. They saw 2 black lights flying out from the heads of the multicolor-robed woman and the treasure pavilion master. It's the killing intent of the ancestral dragon. Huiyi was shocked. What? The killing intent of the ancestral dragon? Demon Ancestor and the others turned pale. Although they had never fought with the ancestral dragon, they could imagine that it was definitely stronger than these half-step immortal realm experts. Such an existence, even if it was just 2 killing intents, was not something they could deal with. Chapter 2304. As soon as the 2 killing intents appeared, they tore through the sky like lightning and chased after Qin Feiyong and the others. Their speed was much faster than Huiyi's. They were not on the same level at all. Have you thought of a way? Huiyi urged. No. Qin Feiyong shook his head. Before his voice died away, one of the killing intents swept over their heads and stopped in front of them. That peerlessly terrifying killing intent formed a terrifying blood-colored storm that cut off the path of Qin Feiyong and the others. Let's see where you can run to this time. The other killing intent was behind Qin Feiyong and the others, letting out a terrifying grin. Are you done yet? Huiyi said angrily. As long as you are alive, this matter will not be over. The 2 killing intents transformed into human forms, looking at Qin Feiyong and the others with a sneer on their faces. Demon Ancestor's eyes flashed slightly and said with a smile, Lord Ancestral Dragon, this matter has nothing to do with us. Why don't you let us go? Anyone who is related to Qin Feiyong and Qin Batian will be killed without mercy. The 2 killing intents roared and rushed towards Qin Feiyong and the others with a monstrous aura. Let's go to the castle first. Huiyi shouted. He had experienced the strength of the killing intents. Even if he awakened the teleportation divine artifact, he was still not their match. If they continued to fight with them, they would all be wiped out even without Shen Qianshan and the others taking action. Therefore, avoiding the battle was the wisest choice. Qin Feiyong did not hesitate and immediately led the others into the castle. You have nowhere to run. The 2 killing intents roared and surged with killing intent. A giant enchantment instantly appeared and enveloped the void. Originally, when they entered the castle, Qin Feiyong was prepared to use the castle to escape. Because of the divine moon jade pendant, ancestral dragons killing intents and Shen Qianshan, and the others were unable to find traces of the castle. However, ancestral dragons killing intents were smart, and immediately created an enchantment to trap the castle inside. This time, even with the divine moon jade pendant, he could not escape. The 2 killing intents stood inside the enchantment and used their divine sense to scan the void. They did not find any traces of the ancient castle and knew that Qin Feiyong must have used the heavenly domain divine stone. However, they didn't really care. They looked at Shen Qianshan and the other 3 and shouted, "Revive the heaven-defying divine artifact for me and blast open his spatial divine artifact." Yes. The multicolor-clothed woman replied respectfully. With a wave of his hand, a thin sword appeared with a loud clang. The thin sword was 3 feet long. It was about 2 fingers wide. It was as if it was made of 5-colored divine stone, and it was suffused with dazzling 5-colored divine light. Let's begin. The multicolor-clothed woman looked at Shan Qianshan's group and said. The three of them nodded. Whoosh! The four of them immediately rose into the air and landed right above the barrier. Clang! The five-colored divine sword floated in front of them. As their divine power flowed in, it immediately released a destructive aura. Vice Peak Master, you must not fully recover. Otherwise, half of the Eastern Tomb will be destroyed. Shan Qianshan thought to himself. Don't worry. The heaven-punishing divine sword is currently in a state of self-sealing. It will not fully recover. Besides, with our cultivation, we can't fully recover the heaven-defying divine artifact. The multicolor-clothed woman said. That's good. Shan Qianshan heaved a sigh of relief and sent a voice transmission to the pavilion master and Chou Tianwei. Are we really going to attack Qin Feiyang? Chou Tianwei sighed. The killing intent of the ancestral dragon is here. What can we do? Shan Qianshan glanced at the two killing intents and said to himself, You don't know who the spy hiding beside Qin Feiyang is. We don't know. He has to investigate it himself, and we have to do it as soon as possible. Otherwise, we won't be able to talk to him. Chou Tianwei sent a voice transmission. Although the pavilion master didn't say anything, there was a trace of worry in his eyes. Because if this spy was not eliminated as soon as possible, the treasure pavilion would be implicated sooner or later. Clang! The heaven-punishing divine sword trembled in the void, exuding a destructive aura. Inside the ancient castle, Qin Feiyang and the others looked at the heaven-punishing divine sword in the image and couldn't help but turn pale. My lord, what should we do? Mo Long looked at the demon ancestor helplessly. Zhang Xiaoyang had long been scared out of his wits. At this moment, there was nothing but despair and fear in his heart. The demon ancestor sighed and turned to look at Qin Feiyang. He said apologetically, I'm sorry to have harmed you again. Harmed me? Qin Feiyang frowned. Could the demon ancestor be the spy? If I had taken the initiative to look for you 2 days ago, you wouldn't have fallen into such a desperate situation now. The demon ancestor said. So it's because of this. Qin Feiyang mumbled. The demon ancestor shouldn't be a spy. That was because he understood the demon ancestor quite well. Although he did things by hook or by crook, in some aspects he had principles. For example, pride. The demon ancestor wouldn't listen to others and come to his side to be a spy. If the demon ancestor wasn't a spy, Mo Long naturally wasn't either. Zhang Xiaoyang didn't seem to be a spy either because it could be seen from his current performance. Since the demon ancestor, Mo Long, and Zhang Xiaoyang weren't spies, then there were only Fire Lotus, Hui, and White-Eyed Wolf left in the ancient castle. Fire Lotus, Hui, and White-Eyed Wolf couldn't be spies either. But there were only these few people here. If they weren't spies, then who was the spy? This spy had to be found immediately, because this spy might be able to help them escape this calamity. Wait. I seem to have overlooked someone. Qin Feiyang's gaze trembled as he turned to look behind him. Behind him, other than the demon ancestor, Hui, Fire Lotus, and a woman. It was the woman who accompanied him to drink in immortal intoxication. At this moment, the woman was also looking at the Sky Destroyer sword in the image. Her face was pale and her eyes were filled with fear. She had a very frightened look. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed as he walked to Fire Lotus's side and brought Fire Lotus to the Black Tortoise world. Where did he go? Zhang Xiaoyang was surprised. I don't know. Hui shook his head. Black Tortoise world. Above the herb field. Qin Dage, what's wrong? Fire Lotus looked suspiciously at Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang asked, Did that woman send a message to anyone just now? Send a message? Fire Lotus was slightly stunned as she shook her head. I've been watching her, but I didn't see her sending a message to anyone. Are you sure you've been watching her? Qin Feiyang asked. Fire Lotus nodded and said, She hasn't left my line of sight. What's wrong? Qin Feiyang said, Shan Qianshan told me in Hui that there's a spy. What? Fire Lotus was shocked. The Devil Ancestors trio Yu Hui and White-Eyed Wolf can't be a spy. So, I suspect that woman. Because from the beginning to the end, only she was by our side. Qin Feiyang said. Wait, let me think carefully and see if I missed anything. Fire Lotus lowered her head and recalled. Hurry up. Qin Feiyang urged. He also didn't want to urge Fire Lotus, but there was no other way. Time waits for no one. I can confirm that she has been in the hall and hasn't left my line of sight. Fire Lotus looked up at Qin Feiyong and said, "Strange. Then who is this spy?" Qin Feiyong frowned. Fire Lotus asked, "What did Shen Qianshan say?" He gave Hui a note. "There are only 10 words on it. There's a spy by your side. Don't send a message." Qin Feiyong said, "Wait, don't send a message? What does that mean?" Sending a message is a spiritual communication. Even if the spy is by our side, he can't hear it, right? Fire Lotus said, "Yes. Why did he tell us not to send a message?" Qin Feiyong muttered. Fire Lotus frowned, and suddenly her body trembled slightly. She said, "Qin Dage, do you still remember the situation when you fought with Long Zun in the Sky Dragon Sea?" Qin Feiyong nodded. Fire Lotus said, "I remember that Long Zun seemed to have said that she could hear other people's messages." Qin Feiyong was slightly taken aback. He thought carefully and nodded. "She did say that. Could it be that the spy by our side is Long Zun? Impossible. With Long Zun's strength, why would she need to be so sneaky? Besides, she can't leave the Divine Land. But since it's a spy, it must be related to the dragons. Maybe she received Long Zun's inheritance and inherited this ability." Fire Lotus said, "No. I seem to remember Long Zun saying that this ability is one of her innate divine powers. Innate divine powers can't be inherited." Qin Feiyong shook his head. "Then that's strange." Fire Lotus muttered and frowned. Could it be that other than innate divine powers, there are some divine arts in the world that also have this ability? Let's not talk about this first. "Do you think that woman could be a spy?" Qin Feiyong said. "It's hard to say, because her appearance is too unusual. And I also heard your conversation in the Heaven Immortal Tower. Based on my intuition, I feel that she seems to be trying to curry favor with you." Fire Lotus pondered. "Curry favor?" Qin Feiyong's eyes flashed. Fire Lotus asked, "Why don't we test it first?" "Okay, and we have to use the right method. Otherwise, if she is really a spy, then she will definitely think that someone is secretly informing me. And this time, only Shen Qianshan and the other 3 came. At that time, it will be easy to suspect them." Qin Feiyong said. "That makes sense. No matter what, we can't implicate Shen Qianshan and the others." Fire Lotus nodded. "Let's go." Qin Feiyong waved his hand and brought Fire Lotus back to the ancient castle. Clang! Outside, the sky-punishing sword had also recovered to an extremely terrifying level. Even though they were separated by the ancient castle, Qin Feiyong and the others could feel a great sense of danger. "You still have the mood to run around now?" Seeing Qin Feiyong and Fire Lotus appear, Hui immediately shouted in annoyance. "Shut up." Qin Feiyong glared at him, then glanced at the demon ancestor and the other 2. He said in a low voice, "Shen Qianshan and the others suddenly came. The more I think about it, the more I find it strange. How did they know our location?" The demon ancestor said, "There's only one explanation. Someone tipped them off." "Think so too. So I suspect that there is a spy among us," Qin Feiyong said. "This way, this spy would not link it to Shen Qianshan and the others." "Yeah." The demon ancestor nodded. Emo Long looked at Qin Feiyong and frowned. "You can't be suspecting us again, right?" Chapter 2305. Not only am I suspicious of you guys, but I am also suspicious of Hui and Fire Lotus, because everyone is a possibility, Qin Feiyong said. "Damn. You even suspect me and Fire Lotus. Are you still human? Let's talk about it later. Now is the time to find a spy. Even if we find a spy, what can we do? I don't believe that this spy can help us escape this calamity," Hui said angrily. "Brother Hui, can you talk less? Qin Dage definitely has his reasons for doing this," Fire Lotus said unhappily. Fine. Anyway, in your eyes, everything he does is reasonable. Everything he says is right. If you want to find one, then hurry up. Otherwise, we will all be finished," Hui said. There seemed to be a bit of jealousy in his tone. "All right. Let's quickly solve this matter." Qin Feiyong looked at Demon Ancestor and said, "You know about puppet techniques, right?" "Of course I know. Demon Ancestor nodded. Qin Feiyong said, puppet techniques are the fastest and most effective way. That's right. I'll go first. Demon Ancestor said. All right. Qin Feiyong immediately formed a seal. Puppet techniques. The woman standing next to Fire Lotus looked at Qin Feiyong's hands, and her eyes flashed slightly. Almost in the blink of an eye, a puppet imprint appeared. But at this time, Demon Dragon stood in front of Qin Feiyong and looked at Demon Ancestor. Lord, this puppet technique directly reads memories. You, move aside. But without waiting for Demon Dragon to finish, Demon Ancestor said, Lord. Demon Dragon shouted, I'm open and aboveboard. Why would I be afraid of Qin Feiyong reading memories? Move aside immediately. Demon Ancestor shouted. Demon Dragon sighed and retreated to the side. He was not really afraid that Qin Feiyong would read the Demon Alpha's memories. He was worried that Qin Feiyong would take the opportunity to control the Demon Alpha, because once he was controlled by the puppet technique, he would become Qin Feiyong's puppet, and he could do whatever he wanted. Reading memories, the woman standing beside the Fire Lotus heard the conversation between the Demon Ancestor and the Demon Dragon. Her eyes flashed with a strange light. Suddenly, she raised her red lips and looked at Qin Feiyong. Don't waste so much effort. The spy you're looking for is me. Qin Feiyong abruptly turned around. Hua Yi and the others also looked at the woman. In any case, you'll know after reading my memories. So I might as well just admit it. The woman smiled. Qin Feiyong waved his hand, and the puppet imprint dissipated. He said, Aren't you nervous at all? Why should I be nervous? Do you still dare to kill me in this situation? There was a hint of ridicule on the woman's face. Qin Feiyong raised his eyebrows. Clang! At this moment, a deafening sound came from outside. Qin Feiyong and the others hurriedly turned their heads to look at the scene in front of them, only to see the heaven-punishing divine sword falling down. The enchantment formed by the two killing intents was instantly shattered. The heaven-punishing divine sword fell, its sharp edge tearing through the sky, and finally slashing down towards the sea below. Boom! Crash! The waves rolled, covering the sky and the sun. Because they couldn't use their spiritual will to capture the ancient castle, the heaven-punishing divine sword couldn't accurately strike the ancient castle. However, even if it was only the sharp edge of the heaven-punishing divine sword, it still created dazzling sparks on the ancient castle. The appearance of the sparks was equivalent to exposing the traces of the ancient castle. Quick over there! Ancestral Gragon's two killing intents immediately pointed to the ancient castle and shouted. The woman in colorful clothes also saw the sparks. She immediately controlled the heaven-punishing divine sword and slashed towards the ancient castle. That was only for an instant. Qin Feiyong wanted to control the ancient castle to dodge, but it was too late. Clang! This time, the heaven-punishing divine sword slashed the ancient castle. The ancient castle suddenly shook violently. The sound of the heaven-punishing divine sword colliding with the ancient castle tore the eardrums of Qin Feiyong and the others. Arrows of blood spurted out from the wound. However, even if it took a direct hit, the ancient castle didn't seem to have suffered any damage. Even so, Qin Feiyong was extremely worried. Hui shouted, Don't just stand there. Take advantage of this moment to control the ancient castle and leave. Qin Feiyong was worried about the ancient castle's safety. Hearing Hui's words, he suddenly quivered and immediately controlled the ancient castle to escape into the sky. However, after all, he was only a low-level divine lord. The speed of controlling the ancient castle was only the speed of a low-level divine lord. However, the woman in colorful clothes was a true half-step Undying Realm expert. How fast was her speed? She grabbed the heaven-punishing divine sword and repeatedly teleported. Every time she teleported, she could accurately slash the ancient castle again with the help of the sparks created by the collision between the heaven-punishing divine sword and the ancient castle. In less than 3 breaths, the ancient castle was hit more than 10 times. Inside the ancient castle, it was also like an overturned river and sea. Qin Feiyong and the group staggered and found it difficult to even stand. See, this is the difference in cultivation. Even if you have the heavenly domain divine stone, even if there is no barrier to seal the ancient castle, you can't escape from their hands now. The woman looked at Qin Feiyong and smiled. Qin Feiyong's eyes turned cold. He said, "Don't we still have you?" "Me?" The woman was slightly taken aback and asked, "You can't be thinking of using me to threaten them, right?" Qin Feiyong said, "Don't tell me you don't have the value." "Of course I have the value. You can say that. If I fall into your hands, the ancestral dragons will be afraid of you." The woman smiled proudly and said, "But you can't do it because you don't have the ability." "What? Even the ancestral dragons will be afraid of you?" Huiyi's expression froze as he sent a voice transmission. "Is it that exaggerated? How would I know? However, since she dares to be so fearless, her identity is definitely not simple." Qin Feiyong thought. "Who cares if she's simple or not? Take her down first." Huiyi snorted and rushed to the front of the woman. Qin Feiyong didn't have the ability, but could it be that he, a half-step immortal, also didn't have the ability? There was a price to pay for being arrogant. However, the woman looked at Huiyi without changing her expression. "You better be like what you said, you have the value." Huiyi raised his arm and grabbed the woman's arm. But in the end, before he could touch the woman's clothes, a milky white light suddenly emerged from the woman's body. Immediately after, that milky white light covered the woman's entire body, and it looked like a layer of crystal film. Huiyi was surprised, but he didn't retract his arm. After all, with his cultivation in front of him, he still had the confidence. However, when Huiyi's hand touched that layer of milky white light, it was as if he had been electrocuted. His body trembled and then he was sent flying. How is this possible? Qin Feiyong and the others were dumbfounded. What's going on? Huiyi steadied his footsteps and looked at the woman in disbelief. Half-step immortal, so what? The woman smiled coldly and arrogantly. Huiyi suddenly felt a great humiliation. His divine power surged out like a tide and pounced on the woman. However, an even more shocking scene appeared. When the divine power hit the woman, it actually began to melt. In the end, Huiyi's divine power actually slowly disappeared in front of everyone's eyes. And there wasn't the slightest injury on the woman's body. It was as if that divine power had never appeared before. What the hell is going on? Huiyi was dumbfounded. Qin Feiyong and the others were also dumbfounded. Huiyi, a half-step immortal, actually couldn't do anything to the woman? The woman looked at Huiyi with a trace of contempt in her eyes and said indifferently, "As long as I don't want to, you can't even get close to me." Huiyi's eyes were gloomy. "Wait." Suddenly, Qin Feiyong seemed to have noticed something and said in a low voice, "Huiyi, don't you feel that the aura emitting from her body is somewhat familiar?" "Familiar?" Huiyi was slightly taken aback and carefully looked at her. The next moment, their eyes suddenly trembled and they shouted in unison, "What's your relationship with Long Zun? Only now did you realize it. You're too slow." The woman looked at the two with a playful expression. Qin Feiyong and Huiyi's expressions were unprecedentedly heavy. The aura emitted from the milky white light was exactly the same as the aura that Long Zun had emitted. If they remembered correctly, Long Zun's divine power was also milky white. Could it be that the mysterious power protecting the woman was Long Zun's divine power? If that was the case, then this woman must have an extremely close relationship with Long Zun. Because if she was just an ordinary person, Long Zun wouldn't protect her like this. "My identity is actually not that important. I just want to know, are you desperate now?" The woman glanced at Qin Feiyong and the others with a harmless smile on her face. Huiyi clenched his fists. "I advise you not to do it again. Because if I'm angry, you'll all die today. But if I'm happy, maybe I'll let ancestral dragons killing intent let you go." The woman said, "Tell me your conditions." Qin Feiyong said, if the woman really wanted him dead, she wouldn't have gone through so much trouble to get close to him. "I like your cleverness. My condition is very simple. No matter where you go in the future, you have to take me with you. And you have to listen to my every word. As long as you can do it, I promise to let you enter divine land alive," the woman said. Qin Feiyong and Huiyi looked at each other and frowned. "Is it really that simple?" "Yes." The woman nodded. Qin Feiyong said, "Okay, I promise you." "Straightforward." The woman chuckled and said, "Send me out now. Don't think about taking the opportunity to escape because you won't be able to." Qin Feiyong looked at her deeply and waved his hand. The woman immediately appeared in the void outside. The woman in colorful clothes was slashing her sword at the ancient castle. The woman's appearance was without warning, so the sky-piercing divine sword in her hand slashed at the woman's waist. "Stop it!" Ancestral Gragon's two murderous intents suddenly had a change in expression when they saw this scene. They hurriedly cried out towards the colorful clothed lady. The woman in colorful clothes was stunned. She quickly withdrew her sword and retreated to the side, looking at the woman in surprise. "Who is it?" Shan Qianshan, the Chou Tianwei, and Bao Gu were also surprised. "You don't have to interfere with the matters here. Go." The woman ignored Shan Qianshan and the others and looked at Ancestral Dragon's killing intents. The two killing intents were stunned and asked suspiciously, "What do you mean?" The woman shouted, "I said, I want you to disappear immediately." This. The two killing intents looked at each other and were caught off guard. Chapter 2306. A layer of frost suddenly appeared on the woman's face. "Do you need me to say it again?" "No need, no need." The two killing intents hurriedly waved their hands, and then immediately dissipated in the void. "What's going on?" Shan Qianshan and the other three looked at each other. Who was this woman? Even the ancestral dragon did not dare to disobey? Inside the ancient castle, Qin Feiyang and the others were also dumbfounded at this scene. It was really too unbelievable. The ancestral dragon was in existence second only to the dragon sovereign. Could be said that it was below one person and above tens of thousands. But now, with just one sentence, it made the two killing intents dissipate. And looking at the two killing intents expressions, they seemed to be filled with fear of the woman. What kind of identity did she need to be able to do this? What was her relationship with him? Hui came back to his senses and suddenly patted Qin Feiyang's shoulder, shouting, "If you don't leave now, when will you?" "Run!" Qin Feiyang quivered. He immediately steered the ancient castle and flew away without looking back. "Don't think of escaping? Can't escape? How would you know if you don't try?" Outside, the fluctuations gradually disappeared. Shan Qianshan and the other three did not leave. The aura of the heaven-punishing sword also gradually subsided. They were all smart people. From the reaction of the two killing intents, the woman in front of them was definitely one of the dragons. And her status among the dragons was higher than the ancestral dragon. So, before the woman spoke, they did not dare to leave. About a moment later, the remaining fluctuations of the heaven-punishing sword completely dissipated. The mysterious power on the woman's body also converged into her body. Immediately, she looked up at the void and said, "Qin Feiyang, come out." However, there was no response. The woman immediately raised her eyebrows and said, "Qin Feiyang, did you hear that?" Still no response. The woman's face suddenly turned cold, and wisps of milky white light appeared in her eyes, sweeping across the void. Boom! Immediately, a burst of anger suddenly erupted. He actually dared to take the opportunity to escape. The woman looked at Shan Qianshan and the other three and said, "The four of you, immediately go back and seal the teleportation altar. You must find Qin Feiyang for me." The four of them looked at each other, their eyes filled with astonishment. "You didn't hear me? You want to die. Don't forget that the killing intent of the ancestral dragon still exists in the Eastern Tomb. How dare you disobey my orders? All of you must die." The woman shouted. The eyes of the four trembled, and they immediately turned around and flew away. That's right. Even though the ancestral dragon had lost four of its murderous intents, there was still one left inside the Peak Master's body. If this killing intent were to attack, none of them would be able to survive. "How dare you fool me, wait," the woman muttered, and then she transformed into a ray of flowing light that vanished into the horizon like a bolt of lightning. In the sky above a sea area, an ancient castle was moving as fast as lightning. How terrifying. She can't be Long Zun himself, right? Hui was bewildered. The last time Long Zun appeared, she covered her face. "I don't know what she looks like, but I don't think it's her," Fire Lotus whispered. "Definitely not. First of all, Long Zun cannot leave the divine prefecture. Again, if she is really Long Zun or a killing intent of Long Zun, then she will definitely not negotiate with me. She will kill me directly. Qin Feiyang said. That makes sense. Hui nodded and pondered for a while. The pavilion master of the Eastern Tomb Treasure Pavilion must have been to the Divine Prefecture. She knows more about the dragons than we do. Why don't we find a chance to ask her? Qin Feiyang said. Judging from her previous reaction, she doesn't seem to know. But she must know that among the dragons, other than Long Zun, there is no one else who is higher in position than the ancestral dragon. Hui said. Qin Feiyang thought for a while and nodded. Okay, let's find a chance to ask her. But before that, let's make some preparations first. What preparations? Hui was suspicious. Do you want to be so passive like this time? Of course not. Hui said. This feeling was too sullen. That's it. It just so happens that we are in the Tianluo Sea. When we have enough blood to open the slaughter domain, we will go find the pavilion master of the treasure pavilion. Qin Feiyang said. No matter what, the identity of this woman must be clear. Otherwise, without any clues, they would not know how to deal with her. Who is Long Zun? What's the matter with the dragons? The demon ancestor looked at Qin Feiyang and Hui suspiciously. You don't know about the dragons? Qin Feiyang was stunned. I've heard of it, but I don't know the details. The demon ancestor said. It's a long story. Qin Feiyang drove the ancient castle and flew towards the depths of the Tianluo Sea. At the same time, he told the demon ancestor about the dragons without holding back. He also told the demon ancestor why the dragons were chasing him. Because the demon ancestor would know about this sooner or later. Time was like sand between fingers. In the blink of an eye, 3 days passed. Under Hui's lead, Qin Feiyang's group fought in the Tianluo Sea for 3 days and 3 nights. The blood accumulated in the Black Tortoise world was enough for Qin Feiyang to activate the slaughter domain twice. On the morning of the 4th day, they washed up, changed into clean clothes, and returned the way they came. Right. I remember you said that there's something called the Heavenly Lingji that's very helpful in recovering memories. Qin Feiyang looked at the demon ancestor and said, The demon ancestor nodded. Qin Feiyang turned to look at the demon ancestor and asked, Is it really useful? I don't know. I heard it from others. The demon ancestor shook his head. Then, did you find the Heavenly Lingji? Qin Feiyang asked. No. These years, I entered the Heavenly Lingji several times, but I didn't find it. I also went to the treasure pavilion to ask, but they didn't find it either. The demon ancestor said. It's so rare? Qin Feiyang frowned. Even the Heavenly Cloud Mountains Resource Hall doesn't have the Heavenly Lingji. I can't help but wonder if this thing exists or not. The demon ancestor sighed. Qin Feiyang's eyes flickered. If this thing really exists, I have to look for it. Because not only Linny but Fire Lotus also needs it. About half an hour passed. Qin Feiyang drove the ancient castle and finally left the Tianluo Sea. On the coast, he didn't find any suspicious people. Actually, you don't have to be so nervous. That woman doesn't know where we went at all. Now, maybe she has already left Dongling. Hui said. I don't think so. Qin Feiyang shook his head. Are you sure? Hui looked at him in surprise. Because if she has left Dongling, Chou Tianwei and Shen Qianshan should have sent me a message. Qin Feiyang said. The Tianluo Sea can't send messages. The demon ancestor shook his head. Can't send messages? Qin Feiyang was taken aback. That's right. Since the Tianluo Sea is the same as the Sky Dragon Sea, it naturally can't send messages, nor can it open the altar. Hui asked, Do you want to take the initiative to send a message to Shen Qianshan and Chou Tianwei? Qin Feiyang pondered for a moment and shook his head. We can't take the risk. It's better to be safe than sorry. Hui said, If you don't send a message, are you going to find the pavilion master of the treasure pavilion directly? I can't go to her directly. I don't know what's going on. I feel that no matter where I go, it's not safe. Qin Feiyang rubbed his forehead, feeling a little irritated. You are scared by that woman, Hui said. Qin Feiyang did not deny it and said, In short, no mistakes can be made now. Let me think about it. After speaking, Qin Feiyang lowered his head and pondered. Hui thought for a while and said, Why don't we go back to the North region directly and ask the pavilion master of the North region? Not going to the North region. I still want to get rid of the killing intent hidden in the main body of Heavenly Cloud Mountain, Qin Feiyang said. Hui was stunned and said speechlessly, "Aren't you asking for trouble? These troubles were caused by me in the first place. If we don't get rid of this killing intent, Heavenly Cloud Mountain will always be under the surveillance of the ancestral dragon. If it were you, would you have a good time? Besides, Shen Qianshan helped us so much. We should help Heavenly Cloud Mountain get rid of this disaster," Qin Feiyang said. Hui looked helpless. There's no other way. That's his character. As long as others treat him well, he will repay them tenfold or even 100-fold. Similarly, if someone wants to harm him, he will repay them tenfold or 100-fold. The fiend ancestor smiled. To put it nicely, it's called being loyal. To put it bluntly, it's called being stupid. I really don't know how this guy survived until now. Hui looked down on him. As the saying goes, stupid people have stupid luck. The reason why Mu Tianyang and I were defeated by him is because of this. The fiend ancestor shook his head and sighed. Tell me about it. Hui looked at him curiously. Generally speaking, in the eyes of ordinary people, subordinates are cannon fodder. It doesn't matter if they die. But Qin Feiyang is different. He treats each of his subordinates like his own family. Even if he obtains treasures, he would rather not give them to his subordinates first. Because of this, every one of his subordinates will never abandon him. Even in the face of death, they won't back down. Until now, I still remember when he waged an all-out war on Demon Dragon Island. His subordinates Tang Hai, Zhao Tai Lai, Chui Li, Willow Tree, Bloodsheel, Golden Leopard, whether it's humans or beasts, they all risk their lives for him. There's also the inner demons. The friendship between him and the inner demons is something I have never seen before. They are even willing to die for each other. The reason why he can come to this day is because of these people and beasts, silently helping and supporting him behind his back. Speaking of which, I'm not afraid of you laughing at me, but the Bloodsheel was once my subordinate. The fiend ancestor shook his head and smiled bitterly. Your subordinate? Hui was shocked. Yes. As my subordinates, they chose to submit to Qin Feiyang and fought bloody battles for him. You should be able to imagine how well he treats his subordinates. The fiend ancestor said. Hui looked at the fiend ancestor with sympathy. It was at this moment. Qin Feiyang's eyes lit up. He looked up at Hui and smiled. I thought of someone who can help us. Who? Hui was slightly stunned and asked. Miss Tianxian. Qin Feiyang said. Chapter 2307. Her. Hui was slightly stunned and asked, Are you sure she can help us? Whether she can or not, we'll know once we meet her. You guys stay in the castle. Hui and I will go out. Qin Feiyang looked at the demon ancestor and Mo Long. The two nodded. Think about how to settle Zhang Xiaoyang down. Qin Feiyang transmitted his voice to the demon ancestor and left the castle with Hui, descending above a mountain ridge. Roar! In the mountains below, two beasts at the paramount god level saw Qin Feiyang and Hui and immediately bared their fangs and rushed out. Are you courting death? Hui lowered his head and stared. The two beasts' eyes suddenly widened. How could it be these two? Then they ran away with their tails between their legs without looking back. Look at you, how fierce are you? Even the beasts are afraid of you. Qin Feiyang teased. Me? No. You're the one who scared them. Look at the Eastern Tomb now, who doesn't know your name, Qin Feiyang? Hui grinned. Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes. Such a flamboyant person could actually be humble. It was really unheard of. In terms of reputation, Qin Feiyang and Hui should be equally matched in the Eastern Tomb. But the person everyone was truly afraid of was Hui. As for Qin Feiyang, after all, he was only a minor divine lord. If it weren't for Hui, this bodyguard, no one would be afraid of him. Here. Qin Feiyang took out 2 illusory form pills and threw one to Hui. Hui grabbed the illusory form pill and directly put it into his mouth, changing his appearance into an extremely ordinary black-haired middle-aged man. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed with a hint of ridicule. He also took the illusory form pill and turned into a white-haired old man. Next, he opened an altar without saying a word. The two stepped on the altar one after another. The next moment, the two appeared in front of the Heaven Immortal Tower. Although it was still morning, there were already many customers in the Heaven Immortal Tower. After entering the Heaven Immortal Tower, don't transmit your voice, Qin Feiyang thought. I know. Huai nodded. After all, they didn't know where the woman was right now, so they had to be careful just in case. A waiter came up to welcome them. He looked at Qin Feiyang and smiled. Please come in. Huai nodded and walked towards the door. Brat, don't you know how to lend your father a hand? But at this moment, a hoarse and angry voice sounded. Huai was stunned. He turned to look at Qin Feiyang. What are you looking at? Can't you see that I can't even stand properly? What an unfilial son. Qin Feiyang said angrily. Ugh. Huai was stunned. The nearby shop assistant looked at Huai and ran to Qin Feiyang, saying, Old man, I'll help you in. Thank you. Qin Feiyang laughed hoarsely. It's okay. There's a hurdle ahead, old man, be careful. The shop assistant supported Qin Feiyang and slowly walked into the restaurant with a polite smile. What a sensible child. If my unfilial son is half as sensible as you, this old man will be satisfied. Qin Feiyang walked shakily while patting the shop assistant's arm. Hearing this, the shop assistant glanced at Huai behind him. A trace of disgust crept up in his eyes. Who did I provoke? Huai suddenly couldn't help but be annoyed. He actually pretended to be his father? How could he be so excessive? The shop assistant asked, Old man, do you want to sit in the hall or go to the private room upstairs? Private room. Qin Feiyang looked upstairs. His old eyes were full of longing. After a long time he shook his head and said, Forget it. My unfilial son treats money as his life. If I say I want to go to the private room upstairs, he might kick me out. My old bones can't withstand such a torment. Let's just sit in the hall. Looking at the pitiful Qin Feiyang, the shop assistant was even more disgusted with Huai behind him. All right then. The shop assistant nodded and smiled. He supported Qin Feiyang and walked to a table nearby. When Qin Feiyang sat down, he let go. Huai stood aside, frowning. Old man, what do you want to eat? The shop assistant asked with a smile. Just a few dishes and a pot of wine. This wine must be good. Qin Feiyang said. Old man, at your age, it's best not to drink. The shop assistant kindly reminded him. This old man is already so old, how could he dare to drink? This wine is for him. Qin Feiyang raised his hand and pointed at Huai. The shop assistant looked at Huai and then at Qin Feiyang. He nodded and said with a smile, Understood, understood. I will immediately prepare it. Please wait a moment. After saying that, the shop assistant turned around and coldly looked at Huai. Of all virtues, filial piety is the most important. Then, the shop assistant ran to the counter without looking back. This bad temper of mine. Huai was incomparably angry. He sat opposite Qin Feiyang and angrily said, Qin Feiyang, have you played enough? Qin Feiyang's face changed and immediately glared at him. Didn't he say not to send a message? Why didn't he remember? He even called out his name. Huai raised his eyebrows and said, I can't stand it anymore. You're going too far. You can't stand it anymore? You're too narrow-minded. A few days ago, when you were in the Zhang family, I didn't get angry. Qin Feiyang also let it go. Anyway, he had already prepared enough blood. Even if that woman was hiding in the Heaven Immortal Tower, he could just fight. So you're taking revenge on me now? Who's the narrow-minded one? Huai was furious. This is called an eye for an eye. Speaking of which, I'm the one who's at a disadvantage now. Qin Feiyang said. You're the one who's at a disadvantage? Can you be more shameless? Huai was powerless. I'm the one who's at a disadvantage. You pretended to be my grandfather, and I pretended to be your father. There's a difference of one generation. Qin Feiyang said. Fine, fine, fine. I can't win against you. Do whatever you want. Huai said. That's right, good son. Qin Feiyang chuckled, dragging out the words obedient son for a long time. Huai almost went berserk. Endure. Not long later, the shop assistant ran over with 3 dishes, a pot of wine, a wine cup, and 2 sets of tableware. Elder, please enjoy. If there's anything you need, just call me. After Huai placed the dishes, he looked at Qin Feiyang and smiled. Qin Feiyong nodded and said, "Thank you. It's fine." The shop assistant smiled and looked at Hui with disdain before turning to leave. Looking at the shop assistant's eyes and then looking at the proud smile on Qin Feiyong's face, he had an impulse to flip the table. "Good son, don't you like to drink? Quickly taste it. How is this wine? Is it to your taste?" Qin Feiyong said with a smile. "Just about enough. Don't go overboard." Hui glared at Qin Feiyong. He picked up the wine pot and poured a cup. After tasting it, he shook his head and said, "It's far from being comparable to the immortal wine. Too demanding." Qin Feiyong rolled his eyes. Hui's eyes turned and looked at Qin Feiyong. He smiled and said, "How about this, let's make a bet." "What bet?" Qin Feiyong was stunned and looked at him suspiciously. "If you have a way to make the Heaven Immortal Tower give us another pot of immortal wine for free, I will call you father in front of everyone. If you can't do it, you have to call me grandfather in front of everyone," Hui said. He really couldn't swallow this resentment. Hence, he thought of such a method to take revenge on Qin Feiyong. He originally thought that Qin Feiyong would refuse. After all, the Heaven Immortal Tower never sold immortal wine. However, when his voice faded, Qin Feiyong didn't even consider and asked, "Really? You really dare to bet?" Hui was stunned. He sized up Qin Feiyong. Wasn't he too confident? But since he had already said it, how could he admit defeat? "Really?" Hui nodded. "Okay, just wait. See how I will get you a pot of immortal wine," Qin Feiyong said. "Remember, it's free." Hui said, "I know." Qin Feiyong nodded. His eyes flashed slightly as he looked at the waiter and smiled. "Little brother, come over for a while." When the waiter heard this, he immediately ran to Qin Feiyong's side and asked with a smile, "Senior, what do you need?" "Little brother, does your Heaven Immortal Tower have a peerless divine wine called immortal wine?" Qin Feiyong asked. "That's right." The waiter nodded and asked suspiciously, "What's the matter?" Qin Feiyong said, "Can I beg this little brother to give me a pot?" The waiter was put in a difficult position. "Senior, you are going overboard. Such good wine, how can others give it to you for no reason?" "You don't even have the qualifications to enter my Heaven Immortal Tower," the steward said with a cold expression. Hui felt extremely wronged. Qin Feiyong placed the flagon on the table and pushed it in front of Hui. He smiled and said, "Good son, this is the immortal wine that you've always wanted to drink. Quickly try it." Hui looked at Qin Feiyong in annoyance. "What's with your gaze? You're actually glaring at your father. Heavens, I've never seen such a bastard like you before. No. You're not human at all. You're a beast. Even beasts have more conscience than you." Everyone raged. Hui looked at everyone's angry expressions and knew that this time, things had gotten out of hand. If this continued, these people would most likely gang up on him. Cough, cough. Hui coughed dryly. He stood up and looked at Qin Feiyong. "Father, thank you. Good son." Qin Feiyong chuckled, his face filled with gratification. "That's more like it. Even a dog knows how to protect its master, let alone a human. If a human isn't filial, they're worse than dogs and pigs. Be more careful. It wasn't easy for your father to raise you." Everyone coldly snorted. Yes. Hui nodded and bowed. "I will be filial to him in the future. It's not hopeless." The steward glanced at Hui and looked at the crowd. He smiled and said, "All right, everyone can disperse. Thank you, you're all good people." Qin Feiyong also looked at those people and said gratefully. Everyone smiled and didn't say anything more. They went back to their own places. The steward looked at Qin Feiyong and said, "Then, old man, we won't disturb you anymore." "Thank you," Qin Feiyong said gratefully again. "It's fine." The steward waved his hand and turned to look at the waiter beside him. He ordered, "Don't charge them for this meal." "Yes." The waiter nodded. Then the steward and the waiter left. "How is it?" Qin Feiyong returned to his seat and looked at Hui with ridicule. "I'm convinced. I'm completely convinced. You're my father," Hui said helplessly. Thinking about it, he had seen countless people, but this was the first time he saw someone who was so good at acting. Qin Feiyong said, "If you really want to acknowledge me as your father, I don't mind." Scram. Hui glared at him fiercely. He took the immortal wine and drank it. Qin Feiyong smiled and turned to look at the steward. The steward stood alone in front of the counter and seemed to be checking the account book. The waiter also went to busy himself. Qin Feiyong's eyes flashed. He transmitted his voice, "It's been so long, but that woman still hasn't appeared. Does that mean she's not in the Heaven Immortal Tower now?" "Not necessarily," Hui said. "Not necessarily." Qin Feiyong was stunned. "That woman is very smart. What if she's hiding and wants to know our next plan?" Hui said. "That makes sense." Qin Feiyong nodded. No matter what, they couldn't implicate others. If it was really like what Hui said, that woman was hiding in the dark and wanted to know their next plan. Then now, if he transmitted his voice to the steward, he would undoubtedly implicate Miss Immortal. So, he had to think of a way to do it secretly. After pondering for a while, Qin Feiyong hid his hands under the table and took out a pen and paper. He wrote a line of words on the paper, then looked at the steward and said with a hoarse smile, "Steward." The steward was slightly stunned. He turned to look at Qin Feiyong and said, "Old man, is there anything else?" Qin Feiyong said, "Can you help me get a wine cup? This old man also wants to try a peerless divine wine like the immortal wine." "Sure." The steward nodded. He turned and took a wine cup from the wine cabinet and handed it to Qin Feiyong. "You're really a good person." Qin Feiyong grabbed the steward's hand and smiled. The steward's pupils immediately shrank. "Old man, don't say that. Everyone who comes is a guest." Good. Qin Feiyong nodded. The steward said, "Then it's fine. I'll go back to work first." "Sorry to trouble you." Qin Feiyong said. "No." The steward shook his head, half-clenched his hand, turned back to the counter and continued to look at the account book. After looking for a while, he put down the account book and entered the back hall. He immediately opened his half-clenched hand. In his hand there was a piece of paper. The steward opened the note. There was a line of scribbled words on it. "Miss Immortal, see you at the South City Gate tonight." "You want to see the OP?" Immediately. The steward frowned. Who was this old man? He was sneaky. Would it be disadvantageous to the OP? But thinking about it, it was unlikely. Hu and Dongling didn't know the OP's family background. No one had the guts. It might be something important. Thinking of this, the steward destroyed the note and took out the image crystal. Outside, Qin Feiyong looked at Hui and said with a smile, "Good son, drink slowly, drink slowly. This is all yours. No one will snatch it from you." Hui gritted his teeth and drank one cup after another. "You're still too young to fight with me." Qin Feiyong secretly smiled proudly. About a moment later, the steward finally came out from the back hall and stood in front of the counter busy. Qin Feiyong glanced at the steward from the corner of his eyes and continued to look at Hui with a smile on his face. That gaze was really like a kind father looking at his beloved son. Hui didn't notice it at first. But gradually, why did he feel a little uncomfortable? When he looked up and saw Qin Feiyong's expression, he couldn't help but angrily slap the table and say, "I've lost my appetite." Then he suddenly got up and walked outside without looking back. "Son, what are you doing? The wine hasn't been finished yet." Qin Feiyong was stunned. He hurriedly took the wine pot and chased after him. Seeing this, the steward hurriedly walked out and supported Qin Feiyong, saying, "Old man, walk slowly. If you fall, my Heaven Immortal Tower can't afford to take responsibility." At the same time, he quickly stuffed a note to Qin Feiyong. Qin Feiyong said apologetically, "I'm really sorry to have caused trouble for your Heaven Immortal Tower." The steward smiled and said, "It's okay. Come again when you're free in the future." Then this wine. Qin Feiyong looked at the wine pot in his hand. The steward said, "Since it's for you, you can naturally take it away." "Thank you." Qin Feiyong thanked him repeatedly. "It's nothing." The steward smiled and waved to a waiter at the door, saying, "Send the old man out." The waiter immediately ran over and supported Qin Feiyong as they walked outside. What a pitiful old man. The steward shook his head and sighed. Isn't that so? Having such a son is simply suffering. The guests in the hall began to discuss again. Outside on the street, There was an endless stream of people and carriages. Hui's face was filled with anger. Qin Feiyong had a look of ridicule, saying, "Are you going to take advantage of me in the future? Don't be cocky, there's still plenty of time in the future." Hui coldly snorted. "Sure. I'm ready to accept your move at any time." Qin Feiyong chuckled, grabbed Hui, and entered the ancient castle. Hui immediately looked at Ancestor Demon, Fire Lotus, and the others, saying, "You guys judge for me, did he go overboard?" Looking at the flustered and exasperated Hui, everyone couldn't help but laugh. Qin Feiyong revealed the note in his hand, looked at Hui, and said with a smile, "Look, what is this?" Hui was stunned. Ancestor Demon and the others also looked at the note suspiciously. Qin Feiyong said, "The steward gave this to me. When did this happen? Why didn't I know?" Hui was surprised. "I was originally worried that I would give myself away, but now even you didn't notice. This means that the steward and I put on a perfect show," Qin Feiyong said with a smile. Hui raised his middle finger, saying, "Look, what's written on it? You're tuning in to the Li Mei Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure."